Roberts & Roberts Brokerage has been a trusted source for buying and selling precious metals like gold and silver. They also take Bitcoin for precious metal purchases and have permanently removed the minimum purchase amount for all orders paid in the digital currency. Call Roberts & Roberts today for knowledgeable advice on buying and selling precious metals and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 800-874-9760 or visit online at rrbi.co. UPI reports President Barack Obama on Thursday announced that his signature healthcare law has signed up 20 million Americans since its inception 6 years ago. Obama traveled to Milwaukee on Thursday to commemorate the city's improved health record. Milwaukee beat 19 other major U.S. cities in a nationwide initiative called the Healthy Communities Challenge by enrolling more than 38,000 people in health coverage under the president's program. The competition was intended to see which city could sign up the most people during the most recent ACA enrollment period. Obama said, "Today, I can announce that thanks to the law, 20 million more Americans now know the security of health insurance. 20 million people. That includes 6 million young people who were less likely to be insured before the ACA." Obama added, "In America, health care is not a privilege reserved for the few, but it should be a right." The White House stated on its website that more than 90% of Americans now have health coverage for the first time in American history. In 2115 New England, there are no borders, no states, and no regulations, yet never has a more peaceful and prosperous place existed. But Mr. Drake's security company has seen better days. Faced with the prospect of waning power, Mr. Drake intends to replace the anarchy of New England with a government. But at what cost? And can anyone stop him? Anarchy in New England by Joe Jarvis is available from Amazon.com and all major bookstores. Reuters reports former U.S. presidential candidate Mitt Romney attacked 2016 Republican frontrunner Donald Trump as a fraud on Thursday and urged primary voters to keep the outspoken New York billionaire from getting the nomination, paving the way for possible horse trading at a party convention in July. In an unusually harsh speech, party elder Mitt Romney warned that former reality TV star Donald Trump would likely lose to possible Democratic candidate Hillary Clinton in the November 8th election if he becomes the Republican nominee. Romney, who did not endorse any candidate, said, "Here's what I know. Donald Trump is a phony, a fraud. I would vote for Marco Rubio in Florida, for John Kasich in Ohio, and for Ted Cruz or whichever one of the other two contenders has the best chance of beating Trump in a given state." By calling for targeted voting, Romney was setting up the possibility of a contested convention when Republicans gather in Cleveland in mid-July to select their nominee for the November election. That could create a pathway to deny Trump the 1,237 delegates needed for the nomination. Former Romney spokesman Ryan Williams said, "I think the governor is just being realistic about where things stand and advocating a potential strategy that could stop the Trump nomination." The last Republican convention to go beyond one ballot was in 1948 when Thomas Dewey was the nominee. This has been FPP Radio News, online at fppradio.com.
The nation's quadriplegics immobilized on Washington in support of stem cell research. And a Penn State t-shirt is awkwardly looked away from. And now for the weekly feature your fragile, susceptible mind already has your lips salivating for. This is The Onion Week in Review. Sources reported today that 10-year-old Brandon Thomas, who is currently homesick at his friend Kevin's sleepover, needs to just tough it the f*** out.
I don't feel like playing Xbox right now.
The pathetic little bitch who claims he just doesn't feel like eating any birthday cake or joining in any activities with his friends, frankly needs to grow a pair because his parents only live 10 minutes away, for Christ's sake. Here's what the whiny pansy had to say for himself.
I wasn't crying. It's just allergies. I want to go home.
What a f***ing wuss. In other news, a voicemail from mom is deleted 3 words in, and a man with nice eyes is blown. All right, now off with you. I can't have you seeing me like this. For more, visit theonion.com/newsbeat.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live. This is Free Talk Live, and you're welcome to join us here. We'll give you our toll-free numbers as well as the Skype username here in moments. With you tonight, you've got Ian.
Rich Ball.
And James.
And I'm just going to let our board operators know that there is talkback hitting us. That means that we can hear ourselves in our headphones, but I've muted it for now. Anyway, sorry about that. Toll-free number here, 855-450-FREE. Also, Skype username is lrn.fm. It was last year, I believe, during the Porcupine Freedom Festival that we had the opportunity to meet Lenore Skenazy, and she is the author over at freerangekids.com. Very, very interesting blog site. You may recall she was named the world's worst mom a few years back, several years ago, when she allowed her, I believe at the time, 9-year-old son to take himself home from school in New York City, I believe in Manhattan, where he, instead of riding the bus, he would go ahead and, walk home or take the subway or whatever way he determined was the best way to get back to his home. And when the news got out about this, that she had done that, because I forget what it was that led to the news getting out about that, but somehow it got out, and she ended up on, various different talk shows and television talk shows and things like that, where she was just railed against for putting her son in danger, allowing her son to walk home from school in New York City. And she launched this blog, freerangekids.com, as a result of that. The byline of the blog is how to raise safe, self-reliant children without going nuts with worry. Because there's, as a parent, and I'm not one of them, but apparently there's all this pressure from other parents out there, at least some of them, to overprotect your kids. And so it's a fascinating blog. freerangekids.com is the website. She's always got interesting stuff that sort of covers independence and young people. And, some parents don't want their kids to grow up. They want to keep them as dependent as possible for a long time. But other parents would like their kids to grow up and give them the opportunity to have that mental growth that it takes, to sort of strike out from the nest, so to speak. And so that's what you see here with Lenore Skenazy and the parents like her. But unfortunately, they're going up against a society that has grown to overprotect, that has grown to restrict, that has grown to disallow young people from becoming adults sooner rather than later. Classic examples of this would be work restrictions, where if you're under the age of 16, pretty much it's next to impossible to get a job because most employers don't want to jump through the hoops that it would take to employ a 14 or 15-year-old, and prior to 14, unless you're working for your parents, it's just flat out illegal.
Yeah. And a little bit of perspective on the number 15 in that context. When Alexander the Great set out to take over the world, he was 15 years old, in command of an army. And he did a really good job. I mean, I don't think it's a great project. It's not something that I would want to undertake. But as world conquest goes, he did a pretty good job of it. So, we do systematically underestimate younger people in our society, and I think it's one of the reasons that you see so much angst and so much rage from young people who are 17 years old and still trying to claw their way out of the swaddling clothes.
Yeah, what's the joke? It's like you can't have sex, you can't drink, you can't smoke, you can't have a job. It's like no wonder these people are so pissed.
Are frustrated, angry. Absolutely.
It's like you can't do anything when you're that age. It's like, it's ridiculous.
Why are teenage boys going around destroying things? Well, it's kind of a teenage boy thing, but ultimately they've got the time to do so, right? If they were busy working, trying to pay some bills or whatever, it all of a sudden would change their level of maturity, I suspect.
I think it's a teenage boy thing to aggressively pursue something, but that something may not be destructive.
Destruction, sure.
That energy can go into all kinds of productive things if they're not prevented.
I read an article about Japan, and it said it's like a common thing for like 4-year-olds to ride whatever their subway is.
Dun, dun, dun.
Like these large cities in Japan.
You mean with all those subway perverts around? I mean, haven't you heard about the people touching? There's like these lecherous men that will grab females on the subway lines out in Tokyo.
Yeah, that is common. It happens a lot out there.
So, I mean, I'm just bringing up the objection.
My understanding is that they also have people who will physically push on people to help them get into the cars, which are so packed there. And my understanding is that's part of the reason that they have people being felt up is just they're packed in like sardines.
They feel like they can get away with it.
Yeah, they're really helpless in that situation.
Yeah, here's like an article just for the heck of it. It's like, why are little kids in Japan so independent? In Japan, small children take the subway and run errands alone. No parent in sight. It's from citylab.com. It says it's a common sight on Japanese mass transit. Children troop through train cars singularly or in small groups looking for seats. So, I mean, like, this is a common thing. People don't think twice. Like, if you see a 4-year-old riding... Like, could you imagine if this happened in the United States, the people would be calling the police and, I
mean, it seems like a safe idea generally, especially if the transit's busy. It's not like some kidnapper's going to be able to just whisk them away in a huge crowd of people. If the kid screams, someone's going to step up, right?
True. Of course, the concern is that until a kid hits a certain age, they might not know when to scream.
That's a good point. Yeah, I mean, there's always worries, right? There's always fears, there's always worries, and if you let the worry and the fear get the best of you, then you'll round off all the corners, you'll put, padding on everything, you'll overprotect young people until they're just completely helpless.
Yeah, and risk tolerance, I believe, is something that's deeply built into your psyche, to where if you're forced to live with a different level of risk tolerance than that which you feel natural, I think quite frequently you're going to end up being a profoundly unhappy human being, whether you're a risk-averse person who finds themselves forced to live through great risk, or if you're someone like me who... If you look at the jobs I've really enjoyed, they've been being a cashier in a convenience store on the midnight shift, being a cab driver, being a drug dealer, things that brought me into a certain amount of risk. And that feels comfortable for me. Does
it feel comfortable, or does it feel like you're living?
Well, it feels like I'm living, but it feels more comfortable than trying to be in an office environment where risk, or a corporate environment where risk is very much frowned upon. And I
don't step out of line.
Yeah, exactly. And everything is expected to be cautious. And as a techie, I was kind of expected to break out of that. But then you have the whole culture of the corporation trying to keep you on task from a marketing point of view. So it's, you're wanting to take the risks and think the big thoughts. And, of course, they have their own concerns.
I think that if you're used to taking risks, it can feel more comfortable. I think that's true. But generally, in order to take a risk, you have to get out of your comfort zone. Like the first time you take a risk, you generally are getting out of your comfort zone because it's comfortable for most people to just kind of do what they're used to doing, not take any significant risks. In fact, our government school system discourages risks. They don't have an entrepreneur's class in government school. They train you to go to college, get a degree so you can get a job, work that job for 40 years, and then retire at age 65, collect a government paycheck until you die. That's sort of the general way of doing things in the United States is as risk-free as possible.
Yeah, that's almost like a trained behavior. I was kind of shocked. There were people, I'm an accountant, I guess, by trade, and like there were people that were twice my age who'd been working in accounting for, 10, 20 years, and they were just so risk averse. It was unbelievable. It was like,
don't rock the boat, James.
Well, no, it was like, we don't know if this is the correct way to do it. We got to get, feedback, and we got to waste someone else's time, like make sure that we do this correctly. And I'm like, well, why don't we just do it? Like, I'm 95% sure this is the right way to do it. Let's not waste someone's time. And if there's a problem, then we'll resolve it. Like, they're just paralyzed by the fear of possibly doing something wrong.
Toll-free number tonight is 855-450-FREE. You can join us on Free Talk Live.
Every once in a while, you get information that's worth changing your life for. This is one such time. You can save up to and beyond 25% on all purchases at Amazon. You probably heard of Bitcoin and just not thought much about it. You certainly know that you can get competitive pricing at Amazon, but now you can get a 25% discount on nearly everything you need to live. I've just given you a huge raise, and all you have to do is claim it. You go to saveitpurse.com and open an account. Do this right now. Don't wait. Then you fund the account with Bitcoin. You can buy them through expresscoin.com with a check or money order. There are other ways to get Bitcoin, but that's fast, safe, and easy. This information is worth you changing the way you do things. Go to saveitpurse.com right now, get signed up, and cash in on the huge raise I'm offering you. 15 to 25% off of everything at Amazon through saveitpurse.com. It's saveatpurse.com.
We are back live at the Blue Emu Maximum Arthritis 500, where that #1 Blue Emu motor is really putting a hurtin' on the competition. Speaking of hurtin', don't let pain get you off track. Race back with Blue Emu Maximum Arthritis Pain Relief Cream. Whether you're in the stands or behind the wheel, ditch your pit crew and use Blue Emu Maximum Arthritis Pain Relief Cream. America's #1 emu oil formula, helping you beat the pain today.
Available in stores nationwide.
QL1, does Rocket Mortgage require me to fill out a bunch of paperwork?
Negative control. Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans is the first on-demand mortgage machine that quickly imports your financial data. You can go through the entire mortgage approval process in minutes.
That is fast, like rocket fast.
It also works on any internet-ready device, so you can get a Rocket Mortgage at any time or place you choose. Over.
3, 2, 1.
Rocket Mortgage at QuickenLoans.com. Push button, get mortgage.
Rocket. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLSConsumerAccess.org number 3030.
A congressman recently revealed that legislation totaling 2,900 pages and involving more than $1 trillion was available to members of Congress for less than 48 hours to study and consider. That's over 60 pages of legislation per hour. Do you think anyone read the entire bill? I'm Jim Babka with DownsizeDC.org. Consider a proposal buried in a 3,200-page, $388 billion bill, which would have empowered committee chairmen or their agents to examine Americans' tax returns. When this horrible provision came to light, no one claimed to know how it got into the bill. One congressman questioned said, "I didn't write it, I didn't approve it, I wasn't even consulted." If your attorney represented you this way, he might be disbarred. But this is how Congress represents you every day. That's why DownsizeDC.org has created the Read the Bills Act. You can force Congress to read their bills before they pass them at DownsizeDC.org.
You can listen to Free Talk Live on the radio, podcast, satellite, webcam, and our live streams. But did you know you can listen to Free Talk Live from any phone, anywhere? Add this number to your phone, 213-493-0308. It's a long-distance call, so make sure you're familiar with your phone's calling plan. The listen lines are airing the latest episode of Free Talk Live 24 hours a day, including our live shows. Call 213-493-0308. That's 213-493-0308.
Are you a political activist who does things that the government might not like? Then this free ebook may save your life. Rats is your guide to protecting yourself against snitches, informers, informants, agents provocateur, narcs, finks, and similar vermin. Rats was written by OG libertarian Claire Wolfe. Rats is a short book, easy to read, and available free in many formats. Download Rats free at rats-nosnitch.com. That's rats-nosnitch.com.
You can connect with the Liberty Radio Network via our Facebook page at facebook.lrn.fm. That's facebook.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live. Our toll-free number for you is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. We've got Skype as well. You can Skype into the show. Username here is lrn.fm. And you can join us online, of course, at freetalklive.com. But if you're getting online and you're not protecting yourself, then you can't expect someone to do it for you. You've got to take the steps to protect yourself online from various different people that might want to harm you or companies that might want to spy on you. You can do that. One of the ways to do it is through ProXPN. They can give you your privacy back. They're a virtual private network, and they encrypt your data right from your computer or mobile device. ProXPN offers OpenVPN, which is the gold standard of network encryption. They've got apps for Windows, Mac, iOS, Android, and there's Linux support as well. Unlike other VPNs, ProXPN keeps no logs of your activities whatsoever. And if you're a Windows user, you can ask ProXPN about changing your DNS settings for even greater anonymity. They accept credit card and even Bitcoin. If you use code FTL50, you'll get 50% off of the regular monthly price for the lifetime of an annual account. It can end up being cheaper per month than a good cup of coffee. Use the internet the way it was meant to be used. Go to proxpn.com right now and use code FTL50 to take back the privacy that is your right. proxpn.com. Code FTL50. We haven't even really gotten into the story yet. Just sort of started talking about free-range kids, and it's a great blog, freerangekids.com. Lenore Skenazy is the blogger there. She highlights a lot of stories from across the country about, how it is that young people are being prohibited from maturing, basically, by government laws, by overprotected parents, by government systems like the school system. And in this case, this is the story about the school, a story about the school system, specifically in South Carolina, where Leanne Arthur is a teacher at Union County High School. She apparently left her smartphone on her desk, and then when she went out to do hall monitor duty, a student picked it up and fiddled with it. Then, according to Reason.com, after discovering the phone was unlocked, he went through Arthur's photos, eventually finding some sexually oriented shots that Arthur's her last name, Leanne Arthur, that Arthur says she took for her husband. By the time she returned to the classroom, the student had taken the photo, one of the photos. I guess he took a photo of one of her pictures with his own phone and was then texting the photos to other students. According to Arthur, he told her, quote, "Your day of reckoning is coming," unquote. One might think the student would at least face disciplinary action from the school, if not criminal charges of some sort, but thus far the school has not moved to hold the 16-year-old student accountable at all. However, the teacher, on the other hand, is another story. After teaching in Union County for 13 years, she resigned when district officials gave her the choice to either resign immediately or start the firing process. Fired for, and that was an excerpt from Reason.com. Now back to Lenore Skenazy. She writes, fired for not keeping her phone strapped to her body, for taking photographs to send to her husband, for not shooting the kid who stole her phone? No, her crime was brazenly bringing sex into the life of this otherwise upstanding young man. Or so it sounds, as the interim superintendent has said that the teacher may be charged with, get this, contributing to the delinquency of a minor.
Wow.
All because she left her phone on her desk at school. Now, presumably there wasn't a passcode on it, because otherwise he would have had to have somehow garnered her password and then gotten into the phone. So presuming the phone was sort of wide open, he was able to access it, find her photos, find pictures of her naked or having sex or whatever they were, and then take those pictures. He essentially violated her privacy. He broke into her device, basically, which is, a total privacy violation. And yet she's the one who's getting in trouble for it?
Yeah, I remember when I lived in Florida, a similar situation where my pool company was trying to convince me to get a larger fence put around my pool, even though I had a fenced backyard with the pool in it. And I said, why? And they explained that, well, if a kid gets into your backyard and falls into your pool and drowns, their parents can sue you for maintaining what's known as an attractive nuisance.
Really?
Which is basically anything with a non-zero level of risk, which everything has a non-zero level of risk, that might be interesting to a child. And that's... So, yeah, you can be prosecuted for that. And it's the same thing, holding the victim responsible for acts that, although obviously if these are small children, criminalizing minor trespass doesn't make sense, but then holding somebody else responsible for the direct and unavoidable results of that trespass is insane.
In this case, we're talking about a high school, so it wasn't like, an elementary school. This guy was definitely malicious, right? Like, he tells the teacher, quote, "Your day of reckoning is coming." So clearly, he doesn't like this lady.
I reckon.
And who knows? Maybe she's an awful teacher. I don't know. I mean, maybe that's why she's being getting this kind of treatment from her students, or maybe they're all awful. Maybe she's awful and he's awful, so who knows? But either way, to me, there's no crime that's been committed here. The toll-free number, if you want to jump into the discussion, 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. There's a little bit more to the story. Let's go to Steve in Chicago, though. Steve, you're on Free Talk Live. Hello,
hey,
Steve.
Oh, is that me?
You're on the radio. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, I want to talk about my penis.
Well, you know, we're doing a radio show, so I don't know if that's particularly friendly topic. Yeah, if you can keep it clinically clean, then I suppose we could discuss, sexual issues or something. Are you having some issues?
Yeah, there's some green stuff going out of the tip.
You might want to go to a doctor for that. Thanks for the call tonight. Toll-free number 855-450-FREE, 855-450-3733. So, definitely see a doctor. You don't want to call talk radio. Talk show hosts probably aren't going to be able to help you with that.
Well, hopefully they'll give that growth an IQ test before they decide which one to kill.
So 855-450-FREE. Also, Skype username is LRN.FM. So as Lenore Skenesy points out here, charging this lady, which hasn't happened yet, but the superintendent's talking about it, with contributing to the delinquency of a minor is like arresting dad for keeping a penthouse in his sock drawer. The superintendent said the teacher was at fault because, quote, when we take inappropriate information or pictures, we had best make sure it remains private, unquote. Well, if it's not private, if it's on her private phone, and while we're at it, are pictures really inappropriate if we choose to take them of ourselves and choose the people with whom we share them? This is just another instance of the mess we get into when authorities decide they are saving kids by acting if any time that anyone under 18 encounters anything of a sexual nature, that the young person is damaged for life. And you see this a lot with teenagers, right? There's this idea that sex is bad, and that's a pretty common idea in the United States, sort of harkens back to Puritanism.
Sex is bad. Okay.
Yeah, and that it's somehow going to require therapy or, some sort of long-term issues that, they're going to have to deal with if they are encountering sex at a young age. And I don't know about you guys, but the first time I saw naked pictures of a woman was probably when I was about 5 on the school bus. I don't know when you guys first saw sex. I don't remember when I first saw sex, but it was probably no later than 11 or 12 years old. It's Free Talk Live, and you can share your thoughts with us.
Attention citizens. This man has received national attention for accurately predicting every major financial trend, including the market crash of 2008. His name is Harry Dent. And in his newly released book, he is making even bigger and bolder predictions that have the potential to devastate the world economy and your personal wealth. You can get a free copy of Harry Dent's bestseller, The Demographic Cliff, containing never-before-published information by simply visiting www.harrydentresearch.com. Again, that's www.harrydentresearch.com.
Hunters, anglers, campers, and survivalists. Get back to nature. Expand your horizons with the highest quality, most versatile, unique slingshots and sling bows on the market at slingbow.com. Slingbow products are compact and models start from just $17.98. They're perfect for your bug-out bag or storing in your vehicle. Give yourself and your loved ones the excitement and tradition of Slingbow, a new frontier in archery and truly modern twist on this primitive survival tool. Feel the thrill only at slingbow.com.
Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it, and once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world, so I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here, and I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit ShireSociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, add yourself to the Shire map at ShireSociety.com. That's ShireSociety.com.
This is your Robertson Roberts Brokerage Daily Precious Metals Update.
After a rise of over 2% yesterday, in early trading Friday, gold is up $7 at $1,278 per ounce. Silver is 34 cents higher at $15.60 per ounce. Bitcoin is trading at $420 US. Both gold and silver are making big moves this week and may have seen recent bottoms. For more information, give us a call at 800-874-9760 or visit us online at rrbi.co.
Did you know that you can listen to and watch Free Talk Live during our live shows 7 days a week from 7 to 10 p.m. Eastern via our studio cam at cam.freetalklive.com? Not only that, but you can also chat with other listeners at the same time. Do I need to mention that both the studio cam and chat room are totally free? Outside of Free Talk Live's live hours, you won't see a cam feed, but will hear audio from the Liberty Radio Network. So listen, watch, and chat all free at cam.freetalklive.com. That's cam.freetalklive.com.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, yeah, we can have a free market, a truly free market. Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. Physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project Early Movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com.
While our satellite channel is free to listen to, it's not free for us. You can help us cover our satellite costs with the chip-in on the right side of the page at lrn.fm.
It's Free Talk Live. You can join us here. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. We're talking about the teacher, the school teacher who, I believe it was South Carolina. Yeah, South Carolina. Lee Ann Arthur is her name. She's a teacher at Union County High School. The story's from freerangekids.com, where she may be facing, if the superintendent of the school has his way, she may be facing some criminal charges, contributing to the delinquency of a minor because she took some nudie pictures for her husband on her phone, then left her phone unattended in her classroom as she went out to the hallway to do a hall monitor job, came back, and when she came back, she discovered that one of her students had snatched the phone, gone into it, found her pictures, and had photographed them for himself, apparently with his own phone, and had begun sending them to other students in the school. So apparently that is now something that not only has gotten her fired from her job, well, they gave her the opportunity to resign immediately before they began the firing proceedings. So not only has she lost her job over this,
they took her job.
Yeah, and now not only she lost her job, but she's also maybe facing criminal charges. Now, my understanding of contributing to the delinquency of a minor usually has to do with if you do something to basically allow a minor or to assist a minor being someone under the age of 18 in most states, to assist the minor in committing what would normally be considered a misdemeanor or felony act. That's my understanding of it. Now, again, each statute probably varies by state to state, but I'm pretty sure him possessing pictures of an of-age woman, I mean, she's in her, I think she's in her late 20s. I'm not clear on her age. But anyway, she's old enough to teach at school. So it's not like he had child pornography or something like that. Pictures of a teenage girl. He had pictures of this teacher. That's not a misdemeanor. That's not a felony. So I don't think the superintendent...
Well, he definitely committed a criminal act in that he broke in, he accessed her phone without permission, which I'm pretty sure TJ could, I think, can rattle off the number from the U.S. Code of the section that violates. But I'm pretty sure pretty much just walking up to somebody's open terminal and looking at it probably violates that act.
I don't know. Is that a crime? I mean, if somebody gets on your Facebook account, if you leave a terminal, and you've done this before, Rich. You've left yourself logged in on Facebook. Somebody comes up and they get on there and they write some sort of Facebook post about, I'm Rich Paul and I'm this and this and this, and then hit send. Is that really? I mean, if you don't take any effort to secure the device, it's certainly not breaking and entering. It may be entering, but it's nothing has been broken at that point.
Well, I mean, in the case of a phone, the argument that I would make is that phone was hers.
Yes,
and
it
for
definitely
him
was
to
hers.
pick it up or touch it in any way would be a trespass. I don't know if I would call that a temporary theft. But certainly he
certainly deprived her of her
certainly
property.
an initiation of force, although I don't know what section of the penal code it might violate.
Well, you have summoned him. Here he is. TJ, the spy, is on the line. TJ.
I knew you were listening to me.
I was. I heard my ears burning.
Well, he's a good spy, so he's doing his job.
I am. If I'm not,
And you're a
listening
little
to you guys,
overblown, by the way. You're a little overmodulated, so maybe back away from your phone 6 inches or
All
something.
right. How's that?
It's better.
Is that better?
That's better.
All right. Good.
Thank you. You're on the air.
Anyway, yeah, the statute is 18 U.S.C. Section 1030, computer fraud and abuse, but that's only if it's a federal issue.
And what would make it a federal issue?
Generally, anything that involves interstate commerce, or if the phone was made in interstate commerce. I mean, because of the Wickard v. Filburn case, that was Roscoe Filburn back in 1940. He made more corn than he was supposed to. And basically, the Supreme Court said by making his own corn, he wasn't buying corn in interstate commerce. And therefore, even though he was making the corn for his own use, it was indirectly affecting interstate commerce under the Interstate Commerce Clause.
Wow.
So whenever
under Wickard v. Filburn, there's no question that the phone was engaged in interstate commerce when it talked to a satellite, I would say, which is outside of any state.
Yes, or if it, generally, like, for example, if he, the problem is if he would have emailed the pictures from her phone to his phone, that definitely would have been computer fraud and abuse under 18 U.S.C. Section 1030, because you can't really send an email or a text message without the email or electronic communication crossing state lines nowadays.
Would that be aren't you supposed to have like a terms of service though? Like if I just pick up your phone and use it, I've not agreed to any terms of service, right?
Terms of service, if you agreed to them, would be a civil and not a criminal matter. They wouldn't. It might occasionally be a criminal offense to violate terms of service, but
that's a
my
private
guess
contract.
is, huh?
It's just a private contract, right?
That actually is a very good question.
Go ahead, TJ.
Oh, yeah, that's actually an unresolved question. For example, is it illegal to sign up for Facebook under a fake name?
Well, I mean, you could argue that that's fraud, but has it caused Facebook damage?
Well, that's what, that was a recent case, and I forget how the ruling came down. It was somewhat complicated. But generally, yeah, if you the one case I am familiar with was the StubHub. So it basically an online ticket aggregator. Yeah. So, StubHub, if you want to go buy like tickets for sporting events or for a music concert, you go online, and you know how they have like a CAPTCHA, a thing that keeps a bot from buying up blocks of tickets, right?
Yep.
So these very smart computer programmers wrote a bot to go in and buy like 1,000, concert tickets, and then would resell them at a profit. Now, of course, I say this is perfectly legal because, if you sign up and buy a ticket and it's $20 and you can resell it on the private market for $40, then the person who was originally selling it wasn't pricing it right.
Well, generally that's illegal in most places, right?
Yeah. So are you saying that
scalping.
it's legal or it's moral? Because I would agree if you said it was moral, but I would disagree if you said it was legal.
This was actually a 18 U.S.C. Section 1030 computer fraud and abuse case. The U.S. Attorney's Office said by going in and signing up for like 1,000 StubHub accounts with fraudulent names, And by buying the tickets, even though they weren't committing fraud per se, they were paying for the tickets legally and lawfully, but they were circumventing the terms of service and therefore getting around what StubHub was supposed to allow them to do. StubHub said you can only have one account per person, and these two guys had several, 100 accounts, each purchasing one or two tickets. And they ultimately, I cannot remember, before, I wish I actually had my computer in front of me and then I could actually get the case name for you.
Well, it would seem like, now, was it a criminal case? I mean, because that would seem like a civil case.
It was a criminal case.
And you don't recall how it ended up?
Not off the top of my head. That's
wow,
one of the
TJ's
problems.
been stumped. This is a moment. Mark the time, 7:41 Eastern Friday. We have stumped TJ. He has not recollected something.
Let me pick your brain. So if you have your computer open and I go and I sit on it and I find your dirty pictures on your computer, like have I broken some kind of law?
Well, if you're sitting on his laptop, you've probably broken a machine.
I mean, with this particular case in these North Carolina, I mean, this goes to show you should always have your phone password protected. That's a good case. And, this will be a very interesting one to turn out, like to see how she'll be, charged or not, or whether she'll actually go to jail.
I don't think she could be charged for this. I mean, it's not contributing to the delinquency of a minor to put pictures on your phone and then have them stolen by the person who's under the age of 18. I just don't see how they're gonna. The superintendent doesn't know the law, right? He's just a school superintendent. He's a bureaucrat. He can't bring the charge. He's just blustering about this. I don't expect she'll be charged. She's already lost her job over this. TJ, thanks for your call and thoughts here tonight. Our toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. Whether it is getting on someone else's computer without their permission, is that illegal? You can answer that question, 855-450-FREE, or Skype in. Skype username is lrn.fm. Your comments on the teacher and the student situation out of South Carolina are also welcome, or bring up anything.
Are you suffering with hearing loss? Are you sick of people constantly complaining that your TV is too loud? Are you tired of asking people to speak up? Would you like to hear more clearly, but you don't want to wear a hearing aid that makes you look old? Then you need to try Listen Clear, a life-changing breakthrough precisely designed by top audio engineers to fit your ear almost invisibly. And you can adjust Listen Clear to find the perfect way to hear everything, wherever you are and whatever you're doing. And right now you can try Listen Clear absolutely risk-free with free shipping. We'll even give you free batteries for life. So call now, 1-800-719-9349. Listen Clear is lightweight and completely hassle-free, and it's practically invisible. Call for your 100% risk-free home trial with free shipping and free batteries for life. For free information, call now, 1-800-719-9349. That's 1-800-719-9349. 1-800-719-9349.
It's about time something new came along for better selling and buying online. And I found it.
What now, Marge?
It's buysellmakeoffer.com.
Never heard of it.
It's a brand new company. That's why you've never heard of it. It's the newest and best way to sell any products online. I did all the research.
Sell my car?
Yes.
Our home?
Yep.
My golf bag?
Your golf clubs. All of them.
How about your purse collection hoard?
Hey, now.
You said any product.
Right. I did. We get 30 days free.
Really?
Packages starting from only $7.95. And buysellmakeoffer.com will never charge item fees, ever. Never. And this is cool. Listen to this. You can even use Skype or video to show your items.
That's cool.
Yes. All we have to do is go to the website, sign up, and then load our stuff to sell. I love this site.
Buysellmakeoffer.com.
Buysellmakeoffer.com. You got it?
Buysellmakeoffer.com.
Buysellmakeoffer.com. Better selling, better buying.
Do you know the difference between erudite and pedantic? If you do, you're probably pedantic. But seriously, a surprising number of erudite people mispronounce erudite, which has 3 syllables, not 4. Say erudite, not erudite. Because you are judged by how you speak, you want to avoid common misstatements, especially if you're a job seeker. For instance, do you know the difference between imply and infer? Only a speaker can imply. Only a listener can infer. And when you say you'll be out of pocket, do you mean out of touch? Out of pocket means you're on your own dime, not yet reimbursed. And if anyone ever asks, why do you always answer a question with a question? You should reply, do I do that? Just kidding. From survivalspeech.com, I'm Holland Cook.
LRN.FM is proud to announce our official listening apps for Android and iOS devices. Now you can easily tune into our streams anywhere, anytime on your smartphone or tablet. Just visit apps.lrn.fm or search for LRN.FM in the Android or Apple app stores. Please download, rate us 5 stars, then share the link on your social media, and let your friends and family know how you're listening to LRN.FM. Download it now, free, at apps.lrn.fm.
If you want to move to the free state and you're looking for some real estate.
Oof, I think we've all had enough of that jingle, don't you? If you're going to invest in property in New Hampshire, it just makes sense to support a Liberty-friendly realtor. Call Mark Warden of Team Porcupine Real Estate for investment property or rentals in the Free State, or visit his website. Come on, you know it.
PorcupineRealEstate.com.
Help get LRN.FM into more ears. Visit promote.lrn.fm for a free bumper sticker, flyers, banners, graphics, and more. Promote.lrn.fm.
You've reached Free Talk Live. We'll take your calls about whatever you want. Just dial in toll free here at 855-450-FREE, 855-450-3733. She may or may not be facing jail time, but one teacher or former teacher from South Carolina, Lee Ann Arthur, is definitely losing her job. She has resigned, basically been forced to resign, after leaving her phone out on her desk in school, walking out of the room to do some hall monitor tasks, coming back and discovering that a student in her high school class had taken her phone, had breached it, and had gone ahead and started distributing her naked pictures from said phone.
Now, usually when the police leave their gun in the bathroom or on the back of their car, those guys normally don't get fired.
Yeah,
right?
That's right. They get a little slap on the hand, you shouldn't have done that, officer.
Frequently, they don't get fired when they rape, assault, and murder people either.
Yeah.
So it's kind of ridiculous. Let's be honest. I bet you if you could survey people, I'm going to guess 90% of them probably have dirty pictures on their phone. Is that a safe assumption?
I don't know. It would be interesting to... Well, first of all, it would be hard to conduct that survey because people probably wouldn't all be honest about it. So I don't know if you'd get... Even if it were true that 90% did have nude photos, I don't know if you'd get close to 90% admitting that they
The
have.
only way to get a scientific study would be to break into the phones.
Right, which would, of course,
even if
be
it's
illegal.
Even if it's 50%.
I'm not necessarily advocating that. It's just,
I don't know. It just seems like it's very likely to me that this is going to be the case. And you could say maybe she should have encrypted it, but maybe the child shouldn't have taken the phone either. So I don't know.
No, definitely he should not have taken the phone. But
yeah, it very much, it's reminding me of stories you hear of the victim of sexual assaults being prosecuted for having been victimized. This woman was victimized, and the powers that be have added insult to injury.
I don't know. I just don't think she should lose her job over some dirty photos. Maybe they could be well, you probably shouldn't have done that, but...
Well, apparently there's a little bit more to the story here from freerangekids.com. There has been a petition created to try to get her job back. As Lenore Skenazy points out at freerangekids.com, it's yet another instance of the mess we get into when authorities decide that they are saving kids by acting as if anytime anyone under 18 encounters anything of a sexual nature, the young person is damaged for life. A petition created by 3 of Ms. Arthur's pupils says, quote, apparently, and many more students who just want their teacher back, unquote, has garnered almost 10,000 signatures. It's so lovely, she says. It not only asks the school to reinstate the teacher, it asks for mercy on the student who started the whole mess. Quote, another thing that you have to realize is that we have went to school with the student responsible for years. The intention of the petition is not to have him absolutely berated, but to have Ms. Arthur reinstated. Everyone makes mistakes. That's what the students are saying in this petition.
Although I would say they haven't went to school with him long enough, because otherwise they would say we have gone to school with him.
Yeah, that's why it flubbed me up, because I was reading it as it was quoted here.
This is interesting because it's almost like the zero tolerance applied to the teacher too. You know, they had all these stupid policies like if you bring a squirt gun to school, you're going to be suspended and get in big trouble or whatever.
I had a talking to back when I brought a squirt gun to school, and this was back in the 90s. I didn't get suspended, thankfully, but
I mean, like now they probably call the FBI, get the counter-terrorist squad in there.
It sounds like you're joking, but really they probably would do something like that. They freaked out back in the late 90s, and this was pre-Columbine.
Oh, speaking of FBI, I understand from Jonathan Irish that Phil Christiana's resurfaced, and he's involved in the arrests of all these people who were at the Bundy Ranch recently.
Oh, yeah, they talked about that last night. There was a guy from New Hampshire, I guess, who got snatched up within the last 24, 48 hours.
I think there have been a few.
More than one? Okay, yeah.
Like most of them who are actually at the Bundy Ranch, which doesn't include any of us.
2 years ago.
Sure.
2 years ago.
Yeah, 2 years ago.
And so they're now bringing them up on charges. You're referring to Phil Christiana. For listeners who don't know, who is that, Rich Paul?
Phil Christiana of the FBI Joint Terrorism Task Force is the rather corrupt federal agent who busted me and tried to blackmail me into basically entrapping my fellow political activists. So this is a bad guy working for the government.
Yeah, he's a federal bomb agent of some sort, but he seems to be investigating all manner of different things involving Free Staters.
Yeah, and basically I'm pretty much 100% convinced that basically that was exactly what happened, as they called up the Keene Drug Task Force and said, hey, can you get me some dirt on a Free Stater? Because there's no other reason for there to have been an FBI connection to that case. The FBI,
for just selling some weed?
Yeah, the FBI does not make a habit of chasing around small-time drug dealers in small New Hampshire towns.
Not to mention letting a heroin dealer go in order to get you.
Yeah.
They gave him gave him a break, basically. No jail time for the heroin dealer because he rolled on you.
Yeah, well, it's unclear now based on what he said.
He being Christiana?
On the stand. No, based on what Richie the Rat said. Okay. Richie the Snitch on the stand actually said that he had sold me out for money, and that his cases had already been resolved.
Really? I don't remember that detail.
Yeah, I remember it from his testimony, because I believed he was lying when he said that, because I've never heard of any drug informants charges actually being dismissed to the point where they would notify you they're dismissed. They want to keep that hanging over your head the next time they want to use you. So I think he was lying on the stand personally.
And he wasn't the only one. Phil Christiana, apparently, didn't he perjure himself?
Oh, well, when asked whether he had asked me to infiltrate the Keene Activist Center, his answers in order of appearance were no, maybe, yes, and that's a matter of national security. So I would say that at least two of those answers have to have been lies. Yeah. Because they contradict the others, although the matter of national security is, of course, orthogonal. That one may or may not be a lie.
That was the most interesting answer.
Yeah, it definitely was.
The idea that the Keene Activist Center, a place where for years liberty activists here in the Keene area gathered for all manner of different purposes, is somehow a matter of national security is pretty amusing.
Well, if you're not on somebody's subversive list by now, you gotta up your game.
Yeah, you're doing it wrong. If the FBI hasn't put you on their list and tried to infiltrate your movement. And it was happening at a time when I believe Chris Cantwell had just arrived, or at least not long after he'd arrived.
I was arrested the day after Chris Cantwell was thrown out of the Keene Activist Center, and spent much time puzzling over the timing of those two events.
Probably a coincidence, but I don't think it was a coincidence that Cantwell showed up.
I think it was a quasi coincidence. I'm right with you where you're going there.
I think the FBI followed him
they were interested in Cantwell, and
because he was particularly violent in his rhetoric back at that time. He still has some of the violent rhetoric, but he was particularly violent in what he was saying and blogging or whatever at the time when he first moved to Keene. And I suspect that's one of the things that sort of turned the FBI on to what was going on here. Not that they didn't know already, because Christiana had appeared here back as early as, I think, 2005, investigating Russell Canning and Dave Ridley, two of the earliest movers here to New Hampshire as part of the Free State Project.
And there was somebody else that, the guy who, Lumpy.
Yes, that's right, who's no longer here as well. But so Christiana's been sort of in and out, not just in Keene, but investigating Free Staters all across New Hampshire, which, it's kind of a badge of honor, right? Like, it shows that we're making an impact, that we're not just your typical libertarians who don't really do much of anything or
the
get
other
elected.
the other thing it shows is there are not enough real criminals. Like, this is a point that TJ's made, is you have all these police officers and federal agents, and honestly, they have nothing to do. So they basically create terrorists. They find like autistic people and say, "Would you park this truck bomb, quote unquote, in front of this building?" And then they entrap them and say, "Oh, we failed the terrorist attack." And then they go after people who, for all intents and purposes, are peaceful, and they just try to like set them up. And
I suspect that's what would have been coming had Rich gone ahead and done the bidding of the FBI. You didn't, though. You refused to cooperate with them.
Yeah, and I considered that possibility, Am I going to end up, somewhere carrying a briefcase that I think has one thing in it, but actually it's got a frigging bomb, which does or doesn't kill me?
Or what would be more likely is if they flipped you to an informant, they would put you back into the Keene Activist Center and try to have you convince someone else to do that. That would be.
Yeah, that could also be a possibility, but you never know. Maybe they're just trying to use you. Maybe they're setting up a false flag attack.
The toll-free number here is 855-450-FREE, but of course this is a peaceful community of activists. No one would really bite on that, even if someone tried it. Free Talk Live.
DVD, books, music, instruments, periodicals, computers, software, electronics, photo, cell phone, office products, home and garden, bed and bath, furniture, kitchen, pet supplies, automotive, hardware, apparel, shoes, jewelry, grocery, healthcare, sports and outdoors, toys, games, used, and more. It's a department store at your fingertips. Shop.freetalklive.com. Get all your shopping done, get a great deal, and a portion of your purchase goes to benefit Free Talk Live when you enter Amazon via shop.freetalklive.com. Currency is too important a thing to be left in the hands of government bureaucrats, especially when billions of dollars can be created with the swipe of a pen. Overstock.com supports the cryptocurrency movement because it returns the power of an inflation-proof form of money to the people where it belongs. Did you know that you can use Bitcoin to pay for anything Overstock.com sells while enjoying free shipping on orders of 0.211 Bitcoin or more? If you support freedom and the cryptocurrency movement, you should support Overstock.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. That's Bitcoin.com.
The three most important things you can do for Free Talk Live are: 1, share one episode a week on Facebook or in some other social networking site. 2, buy the things you buy online through shop.freetalklive.com. 3, give $5 a month to the AMP program. You likely buy all kinds of things online. Amazon is the largest online retailer. You can get what you need at the same prices with free Super Saver shipping by going to shop.freetalklive.com. Please do your online shopping at shop.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Keene in the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Daryl W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Friday, March 4th, 2016. Silver is trading at $15.23 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,262 per ounce. And according to BitcoinAverage.com, the average price of Bitcoin is $424. Antiwar.com reports after 5 years of civil war, Syria is experiencing a temporary return to normalcy, with a ceasefire now in its 5th day and still holding steady. There is a lot of negativity about the chances of making a peace deal, but everyone is enjoying the dramatic reduction in violence the ceasefire has provided. Everyone, except the rebels, that is. Having resisted international efforts to broker a settlement of the war, many rebel factions were dragged kicking and screaming by the international community into this truce, insisting all the while it would not work. The rebels, who were blasting the U.S. for betraying them by supporting a doomed ceasefire last week, are now blasting the U.S. for betraying them by supporting a ceasefire which is working, and is heading towards some settlement short of installing them as the new government. Rebels now say they're convinced the U.S., Russia, and the Assad government are all plotting against them, and after previously making their participation in peace talks conditional on a ceasefire, they are hunting for a new excuse to keep the war going. For nearly 40 years, Roberts & Roberts Brokerage has been a trusted source for buying and selling precious metals like gold and silver. They also take Bitcoin for precious metal purchases and have permanently removed the minimum purchase amount for all orders paid in the digital currency. Call Roberts & Roberts today for knowledgeable advice on buying and selling precious metals and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 800-874-9760 or visit online at rrbi.co. UPI reports President Barack Obama on Thursday announced that his signature healthcare law has signed up 20 million Americans since its inception 6 years ago. Obama traveled to Milwaukee on Thursday to commemorate the city's improved health record. Milwaukee beat 19 other major U.S. cities in a nationwide initiative called the Healthy Communities Challenge by enrolling more than 38,000 people in health coverage under the president's program. The competition was intended to see which city could sign up the most people during the most recent ACA enrollment period. Obama said, "Today, I can announce that thanks to the law, 20 million more Americans now know the security of health insurance. 20 million people. That includes 6 million young people who were less likely to be insured before the ACA." Obama added, "In America, health care is not a privilege reserved for the few, but it should be a right." The White House stated on its website that more than 90% of Americans now have health coverage for the first time in American history. In 2115 New England, there are no borders, no states, and no regulations, yet never has a more peaceful and prosperous place existed. But Mr. Drake's security company has seen better days. Faced with the prospect of waning power, Mr. Drake intends to replace the anarchy of New England with a government. But at what cost? And can anyone stop him? Anarchy in New England by Joe Jarvis is available from Amazon.com and all major bookstores. Reuters reports former U.S. presidential candidate Mitt Romney attacked 2016 Republican frontrunner Donald Trump as a fraud on Thursday and urged primary voters to keep the outspoken New York billionaire from getting the nomination, paving the way for possible horse trading at a party convention in July. In an unusually harsh speech, party elder Mitt Romney warned that former reality TV star Donald Trump would likely lose to possible Democratic candidate Hillary Clinton in the November 8th election if he becomes the Republican nominee. Romney, who did not endorse any candidate, said, "Here's what I know. Donald Trump is a phony, a fraud. I would vote for Marco Rubio in Florida, for John Kasich in Ohio, and for Ted Cruz, or whichever one of the other two contenders has the best chance of beating Trump in a given state." By calling for targeted voting, Romney was setting up the possibility of a contested convention when Republicans gather in Cleveland in mid-July to select their nominee for the November election. That could create a pathway to deny Trump the 1,237 delegates needed for the nomination. Former Romney spokesman Ryan Williams said, "I think the governor is just being realistic about where things stand and advocating a potential strategy that could stop the Trump nomination." The last Republican convention to go beyond one ballot was in 1948 when Thomas Dewey was the nominee. This has been FPP Radio News, online at fppradio.com.
Tensions in Washington, D.C. reached a new high yesterday as several dozen members of Congress took a class of visiting school children hostage, barricaded themselves inside the Capitol Rotunda, and demanded $12 trillion in cash. The children were rounded up at gunpoint, whereupon the House Speaker informed negotiators that one child would die every hour unless their demands were met. Here now a brief video one of the students was able to send out from inside the Capitol.
Nobody move, you're all going to die!
Historians across the country politely reminded Americans this week to quickly check and see what has happened in the past before making any big decisions.
Just take any book with history in it and then quickly skim through it to see what decisions in the past turned out to be bad. And then once you've pinpointed them, simply don't make those same decisions again. Because if a bad thing happened again, you see, that would be very bad indeed, wouldn't it?
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
It is Free Talk Live. You can join us here. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. We've also got Skype. Skype username is LRN.FM. We started the show on Free Range Kids, the blog, freerangekids.com, reporting most recently here on the teacher in South Carolina who is now in hot water, possibly may face legal charges for allowing, basically for leaving her phone out, where a student could take it and then find her naked pictures on there, which is what happened. If you want to comment on that, you're certainly welcome to do so. Joining you tonight, you've got Ian,
Rich Paul,
and James.
We've got some other issues worth talking about here tonight, including the Bitcoin universe. A couple different stories about that. One group of scam artists, and then others as well. I don't know where that noise came from. And then I guess James, you might be telling us about Bitcoin slowing down. Are there problems with the Bitcoin network? But first, we'll go to JP, who's on the line in New Hampshire. JP, you're on Free Talk Live with Ian, Rich, and James.
Hey, guys. How you doing?
Hey, JP. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, right before I go out till 3 a.m. chasing cops, I was listening to the radio, which I don't do that often. But I wanted to hear the story about this teacher. First of all, I think it's total BS that this poor lady has to lose her job and go through all this because some student ended up stealing her phone.
Yep.
That's just plain a no-brainer. But the second thing is I'm getting sick of police using that type of material. Like here in Keene, we have Detective McLaughlin. That's all he does is coerce people to get online and solicit sex and all that stuff. And I think it should be highly illegal to impersonate somebody to do that.
Yeah, it's very. I mean, that's fraud. If a police officer is getting online and pretending to be someone they're not, or if it's the drug task force where a police officer is pretending to be someone that they're not, like someone who wants to buy or sell drugs in order to make an arrest of an otherwise peaceful person who hasn't been accused of any kind of crime, I find that to be an absolutely despicable line of work to masquerade.
It absolutely is.
Yeah, real crimes don't need undercover officers.
Right.
No, they don't. They don't. Detective Christopher Gilroy, who works for the state police here in New Hampshire for the Child Crimes Unit, was helping out Hampton Police and Nottingham Police in that whole thing with the rep being arrested. And that's all he does. Him and a couple other state troopers sit in a room with a bunch of computers with multiple accounts, and they make believe they're 13, 14-year-old women, little girls. Now, my moral view, I think we're just so morally brainwashed to automatically think a 15-year-old can't make decisions for herself. Me having a couple girls myself, being a father, it's hard and it's a fine line. But trust me, you can't tell a 15-year-old girl what to do. Good luck.
Well, and I'm glad you brought this up because it was something that we were probably going to talk about tonight anyway. You're referring to Kyle Tasker, who is a state representative. He has yet to resign. He's currently in a jail cell. There's calls for his resignation, but I don't think that he should resign because he hasn't been convicted of anything yet. But he's been charged with 4 felony counts, Class A felonies, which contain up to 15 years per count, 7 to 15 years, or 7.5 to 15 years per count. 3 counts of drug possession with intent to distribute for cannabis, Suboxone, and psychedelic mushrooms or psilocybin.
It's absolutely ridiculous. That Jaffrey state, not state representative, but city official that got charged with multiple felony accounts, and almost all of them were dropped fairly recently. This was
really? I haven't heard this. I'm not familiar with this story.
he only got hit with one of them, which was a violation of the Registered Sex Offender Act, and basically they did the same thing to him. But the thing that with that story that doesn't make any sense with this state rep is we don't know if this girl was telling the truth or not. If she deleted the messages, how do they have proof?
They can find the messages. So if they go into the police go to Facebook and say, we want to have access to this guy's files, even though she may have deleted the messages, they still exist on Facebook's server. So they're still there.
Yeah, no, but the paperwork doesn't say they actually saw them. I mean, to get charges put out that quick.
Well, the paperwork's vague. I mean,
it's wicked. It's wicked.
Yeah, if you go to freekeen.com, it's I think the second story down right now, and I did link to the full court file. So someone went down to the district court where this guy was charged with these felony counts and pulled the file and scanned it in. And so I put that full court file on the post, and there's a 5-page affidavit by someone in the police department there in, what was it, Nottingham, I think, where they sort of outlined
the sheriff of Nottingham.
Yeah, apparently.
Oh, good God!
They outlined the general claims that they're making.
Yeah, it was a joint effort between Hampton Police, Nottingham, and the New Hampshire State Police.
Didn't they bring the feds into? I remember seeing this laundry list of police agencies that they had gotten involved.
Yeah, in order to get Facebook stuff, they have to go outsource, but the interagencies are linked when it comes to sex crimes. And I think that jurisdictional boundary could be, somewhat illegal itself. But before I run out of time, I definitely want to pay homage to Rich Paul for not snitching local activists. I don't think he gets enough credit. Because he basically lost, he lost a lot.
He lost a year of his life.
And a girlfriend, relationships and friendships and, and kind of lost a piece of himself for a little while. I mean, the feds will take the life out of you. Lying.
They'll try.
I'm grateful that he's still with us. He didn't hit the road after he got out of jail. Thank you, Rich, for continuing on.
Well, thanks, guys.
I would love to see like Christiana's like reaction, because when the feds go to people, like 99.9% of people just cooperate. So
sure they do.
Like for Rich to say like basically F
No.
you.
Yeah.
I would just love to see like his mental reaction to that.
Well, that part actually came through an attorney, but yeah, I wish I'd been at that meeting. It was actually because up until Christiana cut me loose, I was just like, I don't know if I'm going to do what you're asking me to do, but I know I'm not going to make an agreement with you without counsel. So I want to talk to. I'm not taking anything off the table. To use a Gary Johnson phrase, I'm not taking anything off the table until I've talked to my attorney. I may not use every option out there, but I won't take it off.
when I watched that trial and saw him on cross-examination, he's a liar through and through. He couldn't make eye contact if it saved his life. He was hell of nervous, and he definitely not used to being in a corner. He's a scumbag. Just like all those other detectives that sit in a little corner and lie their head off and think that badges grant extra rights. And we're not allowed to impersonate people, but because they wear a badge, they're allowed to impersonate people. Like this case out in New Jersey, I was telling some folks a few weeks ago that over 100 cases got overturned in New Jersey because it went to the New Jersey High Court and got turned over because in the way that law is written is you actually have to be talking to a minor in order to be charged when they were actually talking to a 21-year-old police officer.
I had not heard about that. That's interesting.
Yeah, I'll have to look up some links and send them to you and find the person that actually had. I'm not sure if it was Matt Roach that posted that a few months back.
JP, thanks for the call tonight, man. I appreciate it. And thanks for the kind words to Rich. Thank you. Appreciate it. Toll-free number here, 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733.
You had to wonder, like, these FBI guys, like, they're probably like, I joined the FBI because I'm going to catch these violent criminals like murderers and bank robbers and, child rapists or whatever. and they're going after a guy that is selling pot and smoking pot in Central Square. I mean, it's ridiculous. How do these people sleep at night?
Toll-free number tonight, 855-450-FREE. We'll talk more about Kyle Tasker, who I wouldn't say I knew him personally, but I knew him well enough and, met him a number of times at the State House.
I would say I know him personally. I consider him a friend.
He was a pretty liberty-oriented kind of guy, and so we'll tell you what's going on with him. If you haven't heard the story, that's on the way. Share your thoughts on Free Talk Live.
I'm Steve Sidkowski, a former Wall Street insider. Right now, I'm holding a book that could change your life. It will show you investing strategies which could help you earn the kind of money you've always dreamed about. And right now, I'm giving this book away for free. So who needs to read it? If you're in the middle of your career and you worry you'll never have enough money to retire, you need to read this book. If you're already retired and your income isn't enough, you need to read this book. And if you don't want to be selling burgers at the age of 80, well, you need to read this free book. The reality is you'll need at least $1 million to ever fully retire. If you're behind on that goal, you really need to read Trade Like the Pros. And you can for free by calling 1-800-656-9549. Are you skeptical that it will deliver results? It's a free book, so what do you have to lose? Find out how at 1-800-656-9549. That's 1-800-656-9549. 1-800-656-9549.
My name is Don Wiskin. In 1994, I lost my 62-year-old father to complications of bypass surgery. In 1977, my 44-year-old brother was found dead in his apartment. He suffered a heart attack. In January of 98, my mother had a stroke and passed away in her bed. 21 days later, my 53-year-old brother passed away on his arrival to the hospital. He waited too long. In June that same year, I almost joined them at 42. What did I do? I took a 7-herb formula I now call Extendivite, made from garlic, cayenne, bilberry, ginkgo biloba, hawthorn, milk thistle, and valerian. Based on German studies of natural medicine, Extendivite is designed to clear blocked arteries, clean the toxins from your blood, and improve your immune system. To get your Extendivite, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822. Or visit our website, heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Free Talk Live.
Dear FTL, we've got chemtrail down here in West Virginia.
Be nice.
You've never seen them? Contrail disappear relatively quickly compared to the chemtrail.
If anybody's listening that wants to fight the chemtrails, there's things called
What are you gonna fight them? Wait a minute.
called
Big
cloudbusters.
Wad busters?
I gotta give UFO hoaxers more credit. At least they go out and build a little saucer and they tie it to a
cardboard
string.
saucer.
And they, I'd love to see a semi-legitimate website reporting anything on this particular issue. I just haven't seen it.
I don't think you're going to get that.
I just asked semi-legitimate.
You want a doctor to say it? There's a bunch of websites.
Doctors. Just because you're a doctor doesn't mean you're an expert or smart.
Or it doesn't even mean you're a doctor. Okay, go on my website later on tonight and I'll be Dr. Menwich, okay?
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com. You can get emailed announcements and participate in contests via our email updates list. Plus, we have a Twitter account that you can follow and a Facebook page where you can become a fan. So visit news.freetalklive.com to get news about Free Talk Live as soon as it's announced and the way you want it delivered at news.freetalklive.com. That's news.freetalklive.com.
In Survivor Max 2, School Bites, Max must scavenge through a wasteland swarming with the undead. Desperate to find the medicine he needs, he discovers a community of survivors at his former school. Has he finally found the safe haven he's been looking for, or will he discover that school bites? Look for Survivor Max on Facebook, read reviews on Amazon, and read Chapter 1 at survivormax.com.
This is the Liberty Radio Network, broadcasting the latest liberty-oriented audio content 24 hours a day at LRN.FM.
It's Free Talk Live. You're invited here to join us on the radio waves. Our toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. We've got Skype as well. Skype username tonight is LRN.FM. With you in the studio, you've got Ian here.
Rich Paul.
And James.
Kyle Tasker, somebody you've described as a friend of yours, Rich. I didn't know him well. I've never been to his house or anything like that. But I like the guy. I mean, he's a friendly person. He seems to like most of the things that have to do with liberty. And he was at your 420 celebration last year in Concord.
Yeah, he was. I have been to his house.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, he's a really cool guy.
Unfortunately, he's now facing 60 years in prison for 3 drug distribution charges and a charge of unauthorized computer uses prohibited or something like that. Some sort of ostensible computer crime.
I think it was certain computer acts prohibited.
That was the word. Certain computer acts prohibited. In this case, the allegation is that he had conversations with a 14-year-old female over Facebook that he had apparently, according to a police affidavit, now, how much truth is in the police affidavit, I don't know. How much, I don't know. This is just what they say, and if you want to see the full affidavit, you can see it on the article that I posted about this at freekeen.com called State Rep Kyle Tasker Arrested for Victimless Crimes, Facing 60 Years in Prison.
How long is it?
The 5-page affidavit.
Okay, that's 5 pages long.
Yeah, it's a 10-page PDF with the charging documents and then the affidavit. So it's everything from the court file that the court file currently has. There will be more papers likely put into the said court file, but as of this point,
discovery is going to be the big thing.
Yeah, and so we don't have any of the actual chat logs yet, so we don't know what was allegedly even really said besides a few excerpts that the police provide in this affidavit. And of course the police don't make it look good, right? Like they're trying to get this guy, they're trying to send him to prison for a long time. They don't talk about what they might have said when they were masquerading as a 14-year-old female on Facebook. Ultimately, what sort of eclipsed in Tasker showing up at a location that was supposedly he was going to be meeting this teenage girl for some kind of a sexual encounter was when he was arrested by the police. They later got a warrant to search his house, which is when they found psilocybin in, I believe, mushroom form, as well as cannabis and Suboxone. That's when he received those particular charges. But what allegedly sparked all of this was apparently there was some sort of breakfast that Kyle Tasker had with his, I believe, his grandparents, with some folks, maybe his parents. And yeah, I think it was his parents. And then also, for whatever reason, this teenage girl was at that breakfast. It's not really explained why the breakfast was being had or what kind of breakfast it was. It sounded like some sort of group breakfast. And that's where he met this young lady. He then, several days later, allegedly sent her a request on Facebook. They started talking on Facebook. And at some point, the police claim that he solicited her for some sort of a threesome with a lady friend of Kyle's. And I'm not sure how long thereafter, but the police affidavit then claims that the 14-year-old female unfriended Kyle from Facebook and proceeded to delete his messages. And in my opinion, that's where it should have ended. It sounded to me like she handled this situation just fine. And the people that hate Kyle Tasker, the people that are calling for blood in this particular case, love to call this girl a child. And I'm sorry, I don't agree with the assessment that teenagers are children. They don't meet the definition of children. Children generally are considered, in my understanding, people who have not even hit puberty yet. That's what a child typically is. Teenagers, most of them have hit puberty or are going through it. So, you could argue they're not necessarily adults, but I don't think you can argue that they're children either.
Here's a question I was thinking. Does he have to knowingly, does he have to know the age? Like what if,
Yes, in order to be charged with this?
Yeah,
yes.
What if someone just approaches me and I'm like, okay, yeah, let's do it. And apparently they're underage.
Well, if you actually have sex with somebody who's underage, under the legal age of consent, it's my understanding, I'm not an attorney, but if you were to actually do that, even if they'd been pretending as though they were older, that you can still get in trouble for that.
Oh, wow.
So, but in this case, no sex actually happened. No teenage girl was actually involved after the initial phase. So what allegedly occurred was the 14-year-old, again, unfriended him.
So obviously she was not appreciative of his advances towards her, and she solved the problem. She unfriended him. Now, it doesn't say she blocked him, but nonetheless, she took steps that were necessary for her to break contact with this individual. And then at some point, she disclosed, and this is the word that the police used in the affidavit, she allegedly disclosed the contents of these somehow deleted messages to her mother. So what's not clear is whether or not she voluntarily went to her mother and turned this information over, or her mother somehow, twisted her arm into, giving it to her, or her mom found it, or whatever. It's not real clear what exactly happened there.
Yeah, word of caution, Facebook doesn't actually delete things.
That's right.
I read an article about, let's say you start typing a message and then you delete it. Apparently Facebook tries to save even that.
That's crazy.
Isn't that insane? Like they save like let's say you say I don't know, let's meet up at 10, and then you think better of it and you delete it. Supposedly they try to save even that on their servers.
Wow. So yeah, there's a lot of info there. You can never delete anything from Facebook, nonetheless. So anyway, the teenage girl was apparently involved in the very, very initial phases of this. Mom got a hold of the messages, went to the police. And that's when the police then got permission from Mom, basically, to take over the girl's Facebook account. So they then it was actually the Chris Gilroy guy that JP was referring to earlier, this police officer, started to masquerade as though he were this particular person, and then sent a message to Kyle Tasker later on, after, again, this was after, the real she had removed him from her account. The cop version of her then went ahead and sent him a message, and then they don't really talk about what the cop said. In the 5-page long affidavit, they have excerpts of quotes that are ostensibly from Kyle that, sound kind of salacious and lewd and, inappropriate. But, we don't know what the police officer said prior to that. We don't have any context for whether or not this police officer was sort of goading him into this, making it sound like that's something that this girl, who wasn't a girl but was a cop, actually wanted Kyle to do. We don't have the context of this. And so we don't know, and so therefore I'm saying that you should not come to a conclusion about this case. And there are a lot of people who are jumping to conclusions here. They're rushing to judgment. They're calling for blood. They want to see Kyle, strung up. They want him to go to prison. They want him to get hurt. They want him to die. They want bad things to happen to me for even, saying, hey, let's not rush to judgment here, and also pointing out that there's no victim to this crime. And that's probably the most offensive thing to people that, I've had a lot of conversations about this on Facebook in the last 48 hours with some very, very angry people within and without the Liberty movement who seem to believe that there is a victim when it comes to sending a nasty message to somebody. Let's presume the allegations are true and that Kyle did solicit this girl for sex online. It's a tacky thing to do, no doubt about it. It's probably something you wouldn't want to have happen to your teenage daughter or son. But is it a crime? Should it be a crime to say something that someone doesn't like or that someone might feel uncomfortable about on Facebook? Should that be a crime? Toll-free number is 855-450-FREE.
Don't know what's in your drinking water? Better get a ProPure. With the Pro 1 G2.0 all-in-one filter, remove over 200 contaminants, including fluoride and lead. Taste water the way nature meant it to be. Clean, crisp, and refreshing. See the complete line of ProPure water filtration products. There's a ProPure system for you. Visit your authorized ProPure dealer for details on our current free shipping special or ProPureUSA.com. That's ProPureUSA.com.
So you've got to take a state construction license exam or certification. Can't decide on what books or what chapters to study? Discover right now how you can eliminate unnecessary books and wasted study time. At contractorexam.com, our study materials zero in on state-required test topics in an effective, multiple-choice format. So whether you're a plumber, electrician, general contractor, or other construction-related trade, contractorexam.com will help get you prepared. Visit us at www.contractorexam.com today.
I've been told no in many different ways.
I give you an order and you're going to obey it.
George, you can go this way. You can't do that and you have to leave here.
You cannot bring signs into the rally.
Walk with me.
Well, I'm comfortable here, actually.
Whoa. Hey, who do you think you are? Excuse me.
There is no video and audio allowed in this office.
No, I have work today. This is...
You ain't gonna make
Wait a minute. Hey! Oh my God! Unbelievable! Why are you running from me? Because you scared me. What am I being detained for?
You're being served.
What is this?
You're being served.
What is this? Bureaucrats have a funny way of telling people no.
That's the sound of the men working on the chain.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com.
I love My Magic Mud. I drink a lot of coffee. I had stains on my teeth. Then I found My Magic Mud, and I was told it would remove stains. So I paid attention when I brushed the first time. My Magic Mud is black tooth powder, and the difference it made in my teeth in one application was noticeable. With 4, my teeth were as white as you normal folks out there. Please go to mymagicmud.com and buy a jar. There's 150 applications for $25. You can use Bitcoin, mymagicmud.com. Here's a chance to do a little activism while you're cruising Facebook, Twitter, or Google+. Between the LOL cats, the recipes, the hot girls, and the inspirational sunrise memes, Free Talk Live's posts pass by your newsfeed. Like them, comment. It gives us more exposure. If you don't see our posts, click like at facebook.freetalklive.com and then hover over it to click Get Notifications. It's an easy way to spread the ideas of liberty a bit further. I know you're busy, but you can spare that 1/10 of a calorie it takes to click on something. Facebook.freetalklive.com.
If you are successful at what you do, whether you're a doctor, a lawyer, a business owner, or you have a great career, you understand the concept of protecting yourself. Well, are you protecting yourself, your family, and your assets with quality term life insurance? Consider these possible rates. A man age 45 non-tobacco user could obtain $1 million of coverage for as little as $75 a month. And this rate is fixed for the next 10 years. We specialize in policies of $500,000 and above. A man age 50 non-tobacco user may be able to obtain $500,000 of coverage for as little as $115 a month. And this rate is fixed for the next 20 years. We have great rates for smokers too. Call the Term Lifeline now. 800-872-0403, 800-872-0403, 800-872-0403.
You can sign up to receive the latest about the Liberty Radio Network via our email updates at updates.lrn.fm. That's updates.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live. You can join us here. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. So we're talking about Kyle Tasker. He is the state representative here in New Hampshire. There's 400 state representatives, so he's one of 400, who has been arrested. He's sitting in jail right now, was arrested earlier this week, and is facing 4 felony counts that could land him in prison for up to 60 years. 3 sales of drugs counts, or, well, possession of drugs with intent to distribute charges, Class A felonies, and then also the sex charge, which doesn't actually involve any actual sex happening. It was a computer crimes charge where he ostensibly believed he was speaking to a 14-year-old female on Facebook and allegedly suggested that they have a threesome together or meet for some sort of sex. I don't know if it was on a beach or where. They went in some parking lot or whatever. He met what he thought was going to be this girl, but then turned out to be the police. And again, this is all according to a police affidavit, so we have no idea how much of it is actually true, because it's certainly possible the police are lying or fabricating evidence or whatever.
They like doing that.
They certainly have in the past. I'm not saying all police would do those things. I'm just saying that you can't believe necessarily what they say. But plenty of people are. As soon as you talk about an under legal age person and sex, then all manner of rationality goes out the window. Everybody, not everybody, but a lot of people, all of a sudden, to them, this guy's as good as convicted. Just because he's been accused and arrested, and these allegations have come out, well, he must have done it. He must be a sicko. He must be a rapist.
et cetera, et cetera.
See, I think a lot of people take that position for it. It almost becomes a witch hunt where immediately, if you defend somebody who's been accused of something like this, then even if you're questioning the factual basis of the charges, whether or not the events that occurred actually ever occurred, then immediately people start calling you pedophile.
That's right. That's
happened. And just like if you say that men who are accused of rape deserve due process of law and the benefit of the doubt.
Well, you must support rape. You must support rape.
Exactly. You're a misogynist. You hate women because, or you support rape because you support a burden of proof. Well, of course, the law is a powerful thing, and any powerful thing can be used. Can be abused, Call in false charges against your neighbor. That's a great way to abuse the law.
Set up a state representative who has been known to be anti-war on drugs. I mean, Kyle Tasker is one of the most, I think, vocal opponents of the war on drugs inside the New Hampshire State House.
I would tend to agree.
Now, I'm not saying that's what happened here, but it's a possibility. How remote of a possibility, I don't know. All I know is right now, Kyle Tasker has not had the chance to speak publicly about this. He's still being classified. When you get arrested and you get thrown in a jail cell, you don't just get access to all of the jail services right away. No, they hold you in a separate cell until they can, what they call, classify you. This is at least how it works in most of the jails in New Hampshire, from my understanding. In the jail he's in Rockingham County, there's a 72-hour window in which they have to classify a new inmate. And this guy is still within that window. It was just a few days ago when this happened. I called the jail up, and they said he probably wouldn't be classified until Monday. So, we may not be able to he may not be able to, he can probably make a phone call to his attorney or whoever else. But as far as accepting visitors from just anybody, that can't happen until he gets classified. Yeah. So he's under serious restrictions. So he hasn't been able to answer to this yet, and nor, necessarily should he. I'm sure his attorney has told him, to not grant any media interviews until this actually goes to trial. And we do know at the very least that he does have an attorney in this case, and there is going to be another side to these allegations. So, and by the way, apparently I got something wrong in my recollection. TJ the Spy is monitoring, and he has also and more recently read this 5-page police affidavit. Apparently, the girl in the case, the 14-year-old female, she did apparently go to her friend, a mutual friend, and then they both went to that friend's grandfather, told him about the messages that she had received from Kyle, and then according to the police affidavit here, the grandfather said to stay away from Kyle and that he would speak with Kyle's parents, and then at some point brought the mother into this.
Kyle's parents?
Yes, the very beginning of the story, according to the police affidavit, involved Kyle's parents, Kyle, and a couple of these young ladies, and this grandfather or the grandparents of one of the young ladies, all having breakfast together somewhere. So it's not explained why they were doing that, or if it was some sort of breakfast group or church group. I don't know. I don't know what it was, but anyway, that's how it apparently got back to the mother, who ultimately ended up calling police. And now this guy's looking at 60 years in a prison cell. And so some people are saying that it should be a crime to say something inappropriate to someone under an arbitrary age. Some government agents picked the age of 16 here in New Hampshire as the legal age of consent, and I'm sure some people think that that's inappropriate to, talk to a 16-year-old about sexual things as well. But it's illegal to do it with a 14-year-old and then ostensibly go meet them to commit the acts. But should it be a crime to even, say these things? Is it a criminal act? Should it be a criminal act to say something that is offensive, to say something, lecherous or inappropriate on Facebook or on any sort of electronic communications method to someone under a certain age?
I don't know. I mean, the theory here is that you're soliciting somebody to engage in an act, and so you're taking on the legal responsibility for the act. So in that case, it's kind of like the conspiracy statute.
It is. It's a thought crime.
So,
because he could have changed his mind, right? Like, I don't know. Again, we don't know what his intentions were. Maybe his intentions were as salacious and lewd as the police are making it out to be, or maybe at the very last minute he would have changed his mind and decided, I shouldn't be doing this, or lectured her or something like that, and then turned around and left. It could have happened.
Yeah. See, this always reminds me of Denise. Denise was my girlfriend when I was 13 and she was 23. And it was an eccentric relationship, but it worked for us for a while. And I did not want her prosecuted. And eventually, my parents tried to have her prosecuted.
They found out about it.
Yeah, they found out about it. And
how'd they find out?
Well, we weren't actually sophisticated enough to lie about it.
You weren't ashamed.
I wasn't. Yeah, I wasn't.
Ashamed of it.
I didn't feel like I was really doing anything wrong. So
did you feel like you were you being taken advantage of, Rich?
Oh, absolutely not. I mean, I made a great deal of effort in securing this relationship, and it was absolutely on my initiative.
See, this is what some people can't understand, is that a young person under some arbitrary government-chosen age cannot initiate anything having to do with sex. That it's just they're a child, they can't possibly want sex, they can't possibly be interested in sex, and so therefore anything that is involving sex with them must have been the initiation of the older person.
Yeah, especially if they're female. I mean, I was in somewhat of a better position being male, in that, at least some of the cops that I interacted with during this period were like, yeah, she didn't do you no harm.
Wow. Such a double standard.
Yeah. And
it's ridiculous.
But if I'd been a girl, so I feel for...
If you'd been a girl, that your boyfriend would be in prison.
When it's a consensual relationship, I really feel for the girl involved, especially if her boyfriend, whom she probably loves, ends up in prison because they're having sex when, she's 15 and he's 18. That's an awful situation. Or even, she's 15 and he's whatever.
But some people would say that, Rich, you could not have consented. You were 13 years old. You couldn't have consented because you were just a child. And I'd like to know what you would say about that, or to those people. The toll-free number here is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. I think that's an insult to teenagers to call them children. But you can share your thoughts here. This is Free Talk Live.
February is National Heart Month, and chances are you have a cardiovascular issue like I do. I help maintain my healthy heart by drinking Super Beets. It's a superfood powder that I mix with water, but you can mix it with yogurt or put it in a smoothie, whatever you want. Not only does it help boost my circulation and support my healthy blood pressure naturally, but I feel the energy and stamina boost in about 20 minutes, which no other superfood formula guarantees. All the beets from Super Beets come from one non-GMO farm in California, so they can keep a close eye on the production of the dietary nitrates. I want you to try this product for National Heart Month. And if you don't feel the results, you don't pay, guaranteed. Get a 30-day supply free with your first order. You also get nitric oxide indicator strips so that you can see it's working. Plus, get the free book, Beat the Odds. And all of this comes with free shipping. Call 800-951-8940 or visit FTLBeats.com. I believe in Super Beats. 800-951-8940, FTLBeats.com.
Hello?
Congratulations.
For what?
For losing all that weight. How'd you do it so fast?
ASAP.
ASAP what? What's that mean?
Are you ready to get as skinny as possible, as soon as possible, as simple as possible, and as sexy as possible?
I'm listening.
Then get with the ASAP program. It's real and it works. No smooth talk, no slick advertising, and no exaggerated claims of success.
I've got to know more.
Welcome to ASAP, as slim as possible. Whether you have 10, 20, or 50 pounds to lose, ASAP is your weight loss answer. ASAP targets the abnormal fat reserves and makes them available to be burned as fuel and contains no caffeine or hormones. Order ASAP at wholesale prices or join the team to share the business with others. Go to GCNteam.com or call 855-GCN-MALL. That's 855-426-6255. GCNteam.com or 855-426-6255. Lose weight and look great with ASAP, as slim as possible.
Looking for an excuse to come check out New Hampshire's liberty activism scene this fall? You're invited to Keenvention. Keenvention is your chance to meet dozens of key liberty activists from across the Shire. You can explore the beautiful little city of Keene, discuss various forms of activism with seasoned veterans, have fun at social events like the Hallow Keene Costume Dance Party, and learn about making the move. Keenvention received rave reviews last year. If you missed it, visit keenvention.info for full video coverage of every speaker and panel. Join old and new friends and neighbors in Keene for Keenvention this November 4th through November 6th. Tickets are available now for a special pre-order price of just $50 via credit card or Bitcoin. However, only 100 pre-order tickets are available, so reserve your tickets now at keenvention.info. Visit keenvention.info for more, or look for our page and event on Facebook. That's keenvention.info. So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM.
This is your Robertson Roberts Brokerage Daily Precious Metals Update. After a rise of over 2% yesterday, in early trading Friday, gold is up $7 at $1,278 per ounce. Silver is 34 cents higher at $15.60 per ounce. Bitcoin is trading at $420 US. Both gold and silver are making big moves this week and may have seen recent bottoms. For more information, give us a call at 800-874-9760 or visit us online at rrbi.co.
What's up next? Visit the Liberty Radio Network program guide to find out at shows.lrn.fm. That's shows.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live. You're invited to join us here. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. We've got Skype as well. Skype username is LRN.FM, so feel free to connect with us in that way if you'd like. We're talking about the case of Kyle Tasker, who is... He's not a Free Stater. He certainly has hung out with a number of Free Staters, liberty activists here in New Hampshire. He's a pretty liberty-friendly state representative. According to the New Hampshire Liberty Alliance, he scored an A in their yearly liberty rankings that they come out with for all of the state reps and state senators as far as, how did they vote on things? Did they vote pro-liberty or not? So he didn't get the highest ranking, which is an A+. He got an A, though, so he's pretty liberty-friendly. And now he's facing 60 years in prison for some alleged drug dealing charges and allegedly soliciting a so-called minor on the internet for sexual occasion. And, it's really sad how many people who purportedly are libertarians have thrown this man to the wolves, have just decided that, he's been accused of something. There's a police affidavit saying he did some stuff, so I'm just going to consider him guilty and basically treat him as a social pariah and just go ahead and jump to the conclusion that the police are correct in their accusations and that there's nothing else that we need to know about this story. That's what's happening. And it has resulted, I've blogged about this over at freekeen.com. It's resulted in a firestorm of controversy on Facebook over the last 48 hours. I've been threatened simply because, I've asked questions. Basically, I've asked questions about this. It's a tough issue. I understand that. I get it that when it comes to young people, parents especially, feel like they need to protect their kids. I get that. That makes sense. In which case, there really wasn't anyone who was ever in jeopardy in this situation. The girl handled herself fine. She was approached, allegedly, again, this is according to the police, she was approached by Kyle Tasker on Facebook after having met him in real life at some breakfast event that they were both at. He propositioned her to some kind of a threesome with a lady friend of his, and she unfriended him. She removed, deleted the conversation and unfriended him. That should have been sufficient. I mean, if you want to take it further, then spread the word. If mom wanted to get
Kyle Tasker for this. She could have spread the word amongst the the community, amongst other parents and things like that about what happened. Share the chat logs or whatever. But no, she went to the police, who then assumed control of the girl's Facebook account and proceeded to message him further, ultimately meeting him for what was supposed to be some sort of sexual encounter, where he was then arrested.
I guess, I was just thinking, suppose to me, it's the issue is, let's say that he was soliciting sex or talking to this girl, and she was like, look, I don't want to talk to you, quit talking to me, and he kept doing it, and then he, tried to have sex with her. To me, that's a crime.
That would be criminal harassment.
I'm not sure, just, asking, and then, the person may be agreeing. Another thing I was thinking is, this seems like one crime where, it's people who aren't even a victim can somehow say that they have a stake in it, like the parents. So, in Rich's case, he's saying, well, I don't.
Rich was 13 when he was with a 23-year-old.
13 with a 23-year-old. He says, well, I don't feel like I'm a victim here. I don't think there should be criminal charges. But the parents still, in theory, could bring criminal charges.
Yeah, and I don't have any animus against my parents. I think they were doing what they thought was best. I think they were wrong in their consideration, but that power should not be in the hands of some third party to say that I was sexually assaulted when I say I was not. And later in my childhood I was by a teenager, ironically enough. But so I definitely know the difference between what is and what is not consent. And
that was my question before he went away. There was, some people would say that at age 13, that was your situation, Rich, that you couldn't consent. You're just a child. You can't consent. What would you say to them?
I would say that I was certainly capable of consent, and that could be ascertained very easily by looking at the way that I approached the relationship, where I was looking for. That was exactly what I was looking for from the beginning. I mean, the first night I met her, I was wandering around. I had a habit at that time because I didn't sleep at night. And I had a really hard time talking to people my age because I have an IQ of 154.
You're way more advanced than your classmates. Contemporaries.
Exactly. And so it was and I knew what sex was, and I wanted to experience it. And I had read a fair amount about it.
This was, you're in your 40s now, so we're talking about late 80s? When was this?
This would have been I was 12 in 1980 when...
Okay, wow. Okay.
So, yeah, it would be
Early
1981 probably would be when the relationship started.
So way before Facebook, way before, any kind of real
none of this stuff existed. I actually... But at the time, I had sleep problems, and I was 13, so I would get fists of tequila, and I had a wineskin, and I would fill the wineskin up with tequila and keep it under my jacket and just walk the streets of Ann Arbor all night drinking tequila and, contemplating the universe and teenage angst and existentialism and Robert Heinlein and whatever it was I was obsessed with in those days. And I wandered into Denise's store. She was working at it was midnight shift, and I'm now believing that she's dead. So, which is why I'm being somewhat more forthcoming.
We just checked this out during the break.
Yeah,
looked her up because you hadn't looked her up since.
Yeah, and I would not want to cause her any harm or embarrassment.
Yeah,
but
she
the fear that people have about speaking out about this kind of thing does enhance the fear and embarrassment, and
you wouldn't want this to come back and bite her 30 years later.
No, but of course the statute of limitations is long gone on that. But anyway, I came into her store and I was visibly intoxicated. It was a Stop and Go, which is a convenience store in Ann Arbor, right down on campus, and she said, "Well, you need some coffee." And I said, "Oh, do I?" And she said, "Yeah." And I said, "Well, I don't have any money, so I'll just have to stick with the tequila." And she said, well, I'll buy you a cup of coffee. Is that okay? And I said, well, only if I can buy you one back. And she said, yeah, okay, fine. You can come back and buy me a cup of coffee sometime. So the next morning at 7 a.m. when she gets off work, I'm standing there outside the door, and I'm like, let's go get that coffee.
All right.
And at the time, she had...
Were you attracted to her?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
She was a college girl, right? 23 or whatever?
Yeah, she was 23. She was, I found her very, very attractive, and most off, she could actually understood the things that I said and the things that I was thinking about and at that stage of my life, and there weren't many people who could make that statement. And through her, I got to know a number of other young adults who were kind of a group of people, and that really helped me preserve my sanity through that time of my life, is having a group of people who had advanced degrees, but they would still talk to me and
like a human being, like a person,
like a person, and
not like a child.
Tell me if I was wrong about something, tell me why I was wrong, not just tell me I was an
said
idiot.
So.
Yeah, and so that for me it was there's an argument
it was
very important.
There's an argument that one of the things that's very detrimental about the government school system is that it groups a bunch of young people of the same age into the same group over time, that they're not really exposed, besides the teacher or administrators, they're not exposed regularly to people of different ages and different experience that can help them learn and mature better.
Yeah, that's one thing that I was kind of thinking about it. I noticed there's something different, when the school is out, all of a sudden the children are back in society, and I was thinking it's really creepy, as an adult, in my daily life, I don't really see children around. It's they have been removed from society completely. And I get it, children are very important to parents and they want to protect their children from everything. But I kind of wonder, has our society gone too far?
Oh, yeah. As far as overprotection?
They've completely, you don't even see kids anymore. They're gone. They're invisible.
Well, in the Holy Scriptures of the Church, in the book of South Park, there's an episode called "Child Abduction is Not Funny," which I think is a great reductio ad absurdum of this position. Is that the parents in town become very concerned about their children getting abducted, and then they find out that the people most likely to abduct children is parents, which actually usually happens in the context of a custody dispute.
Battle.
But they decide then that they have to send their children off to go live in the wilderness, so they don't know where they are to abduct them.
More coming up in Hour 3. Free Talk Live.
There comes a time when you need custom embroidered or screen printed apparel for your business, organization, or a special event. Corporate Casuals has been helping people create great looking logoed apparel for over 25 years. They can produce a single piece or thousands using name brand apparel like Nike, Patagonia, Adidas, and Hanes. Create your logo in their online embroidery design studio or upload your existing logo and they'll turn it into embroidery. Go to corporatecasuals.com/FTL and include FTL in the order notes and save 5% on your order. As a pioneer of the e-commerce movement, Overstock.com is proud to be the first major retailer to accept Bitcoin. Overstock was the first because Patrick Byrne, Overstock's CEO and founder, firmly believes in personal freedom and cryptocurrency. Over the past 16 years, Overstock has furnished over 18 million homes with a diverse line of products to suit everyone's unique styles and preferences. Support Overstock and freedom of choice while enjoying free shipping on orders of 0.211 Bitcoin or more.
Ross Ulbricht was convicted in early 2015 of running the infamous Silk Road Underground Market. The Silk Road was a gift to humanity and helped reduce the harms brought on by drug prohibition. For this good deed, Ross has been sentenced to life in prison with no possibility of parole. Now, an appeal is Ross's only chance, and he needs your support. Please visit freeross.org, where you can contribute via various methods, including Bitcoin. Visit freeross.org. That's freeross.org.
LRN.FM is proud to announce our official listening apps for Android and iOS devices. Now you can easily tune into our streams anywhere, anytime on your smartphone or tablet. Just visit apps.lrn.fm or search for LRN.FM in the Android or Apple app stores. Please download, rate us 5 stars, then share the link on your social media, and let your friends and family know how you're listening to LRN.FM. Download it now, free, at apps.lrn.fm.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Keene in the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Daryl W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Friday, March 4th, 2016. Silver is trading at $15.23 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,262 per ounce. And according to BitcoinAverage.com, the average price of Bitcoin is $424. Antiwar.com reports after 5 years of civil war, Syria is experiencing a temporary return to normalcy, with a ceasefire now in its 5th day and still holding steady. There is a lot of negativity about the chances of making a peace deal, but everyone is enjoying the dramatic reduction in violence the ceasefire has provided. Everyone, except the rebels, that is. Having resisted international efforts to broker a settlement of the war, many rebel factions were dragged kicking and screaming by the international community into this truce, insisting all the while it would not work. The rebels, who were blasting the U.S. for betraying them by supporting a doomed ceasefire last week, are now blasting the U.S. for betraying them by supporting a ceasefire which is working and is heading towards some settlement short of installing them as the new government. Rebels now say they're convinced the U.S., Russia, and the Assad government are all plotting against them, and after previously making their participation in peace talks conditional on a ceasefire, they are hunting for a new excuse to keep the war going. For nearly 40 years, Roberts & Roberts Brokerage has been a trusted source for buying and selling precious metals like gold and silver. They also take Bitcoin for precious metal purchases and have permanently removed the minimum purchase amount for all orders paid in the digital currency. Call Roberts & Roberts today for knowledgeable advice on buying and selling precious metals and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 800-874-9760 or visit online at rrbi.co. UPI reports President Barack Obama on Thursday announced that his signature healthcare law has signed up 20 million Americans since its inception 6 years ago. Obama traveled to Milwaukee on Thursday to commemorate the city's improved health record. Milwaukee beat 19 other major U.S. cities in a nationwide initiative called the Healthy Communities Challenge by enrolling more than 38,000 people in health coverage under the president's program. The competition was intended to see which city could sign up the most people during the most recent ACA enrollment period. Obama said, "Today, I can announce that thanks to the law, 20 million more Americans now know the security of health insurance. 20 million people. That includes 6 million young people who were less likely to be insured before the ACA." Obama added, "In America, health care is not a privilege reserved for the few, but it should be a right." The White House stated on its website that more than 90% of Americans now have health coverage for the first time in American history. In 2115 New England, there are no borders, no states, and no regulations, yet never has a more peaceful and prosperous place existed. But Mr. Drake's security company has seen better days. Faced with the prospect of waning power, Mr. Drake intends to replace the anarchy of New England with a government. But at what cost? And can anyone stop him? Anarchy in New England by Joe Jarvis is available from Amazon.com and all major bookstores. Reuters reports former U.S. presidential candidate Mitt Romney attacked 2016 Republican frontrunner Donald Trump as a fraud on Thursday and urged primary voters to keep the outspoken New York billionaire from getting the nomination, paving the way for possible horse trading at a party convention in July. In an unusually harsh speech, party elder Mitt Romney warned that former reality TV star Donald Trump would likely lose to possible Democratic candidate Hillary Clinton in the November 8th election if he becomes the Republican nominee. Romney, who did not endorse any candidate, said, "Here's what I know. Donald Trump is a phony, a fraud. I would vote for Marco Rubio in Florida, for John Kasich in Ohio, and for Ted Cruz, or whichever one of the other two contenders has the best chance of beating Trump in a given state." By calling for targeted voting, Romney was setting up the possibility of a contested convention when Republicans gather in Cleveland in mid-July to select their nominee for the November election. That could create a pathway to deny Trump up the 1,237 delegates needed for the nomination. Former Romney spokesman Ryan Williams said, "I think the governor is just being realistic about where things stand and advocating a potential strategy that could stop the Trump nomination." The last Republican convention to go beyond one ballot was in 1948 when Thomas Dewey was the nominee. This has been FPP Radio News, online at fppradio.com.
A local man feels even lazier when he thinks about how much ISIS has accomplished this year. A police officer doesn't see a difference between black and light-skinned black suspects. And a weak-willed termite eats a whole log in one sitting. Barreling forward on our campaign towards truth and righteousness, this is the Onion Week in Review. A new report released this week revealed that more parents than ever are relying on grandparents to help up their kids. The report's authors noted that in order to make ends meet, many budget-conscious parents in the U.S. have allowed their own parents to step in and deliver the same level of emotional neglect they would like to apply, adding that for many working adults, this arrangement was the only way to ensure their children were adequately belittled and ignored. In other news, Busch Gardens unveils their new 9,600-mile-long endurance coaster. A documentary provides a scathing indictment of the director's filmmaking skills, and a man brings his son into the office to see where dad is emasculated.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
This is Free Talk Live. You can join us here toll free, 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. You know, it's rare when we talk about issues on this show that one of the co-hosts will actually speak out in frustration. I received a call from Mark today who was upset that, I've been talking about this Kyle Tasker thing and people are mad and I shouldn't, rock the boat so much. Because it's not exactly the best thing for business to be taking, the position that someone who is accused of soliciting a 14-year-old female on the internet for sex we shouldn't rush to judgment in that case. That there's not even a victim, even if the allegations are true, is essentially what I've been saying over at blog posts at freekeen.com. And, I was basically told to tone it down. I'm not going to do that. Because I understand that, it could hurt Free Talk Live to take unpopular positions, but we've been doing that for the history of this show. It's sort of what we do here is we don't pander to what the majority believes. We talk about our beliefs and what we think on various issues, even uncomfortable, difficult issues to talk about. And so if you want to share your thoughts here tonight, the toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. There's a man named Kyle Tasker who's facing 60 years in prison. He's a state representative here in the state of New Hampshire. He was arrested earlier this week for allegedly, again, it's not been proven yet. We're supposed to have this idea of innocent until proven guilty. Well, that goes out the window when we're talking about sex charges with underage people.
And that's like the one thing, like let's take the Waco situation. It's like, maybe you could be on their side until like possibly that they're supposedly, child molesters. So like that's the one allegation that you can throw against someone and like whatever public support that they may have had, like it's going to be completely gone.
Forget about court, just roll in the tanks and set the place on fire, right?
And kill the very children that the FBI is supposedly protecting. Right. That's, maybe their parents diddled them, but the FBI murdered them. That's known.
Exactly. And the other allegations were never proven because everybody's dead.
And actually they were not only not proven, but they were mostly found unsupportable among the survivors. They never found anything chargeable. The Waco, the people the survivors of Waco who were brought to trial were acquitted of whatever it is they were charged with. I can't remember what it was, and then I believe won a lawsuit against the government.
Interesting.
But I'm not sure about that last.
You can share your thoughts if you remember more. Toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. And it's convenient that you're here for this discussion, Rich Paul, because you've talked on the air here tonight in the last hour about how it was when you were 13 years old. You met a 23-year-old female in a college town, and it was late at night. You were actually drinking
You'd acquired some vodka for yourself or something like that. Tequila. And were walking about. You went into a convenience store and struck up a conversation with the clerk behind the counter. You invited her out for coffee, basically. And we never got to finish your story. The next morning, you said you were there waiting for her, or morning shortly thereafter when she got off work. Right?
Yeah, and I got to know her. She had a boyfriend at that time, and I got to know her well enough that when her boyfriend broke up with her, I was actually down in Chicago at a Northwestern University program for the gifted, where they were giving me an intensive chemistry course. And I was staying in one of the dorms at Northwestern University on the 3rd floor. And so she decided after her boyfriend broke up with her that she wanted to come and see me. And I remember smuggling her into the dorm and then from room to room up to the 3rd floor, where she ended up spending a couple of
Because you're not allowed to have
with
co-ed.
Yeah, we weren't allowed to have company, and certainly they would have been concerned about having a company of the opposite sex 10 years my senior in my dorm room. But yeah, that was a good time.
That's where the magic happened, huh?
Yeah. The song playing was the Eurythmics. Sweet dreams are made of this.
That's funny.
Almost immediately followed by Tainted Love, so that wasn't a good sign.
And how long did it go on for, the relationship?
It went on for probably 6 or 7 months.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, it wasn't. It wasn't
your typical
too bad.
high school relationship probably doesn't go on for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Right?
And we never actually wanted to break up. What happened is her ex-husband caught wind of it.
Oh, no.
And she had 2 children. And so he basically said, well, if you keep seeing him, I'm going to say you're an unfit parent based on that. And as a result of that, we had to break up. And
that was the last time you talked to her?
That was pretty close to the last time I talked to her. I was actually I was devastated when
she was your first
happened.
love, right?
Yeah,
I mean, you fell in love with her.
Well, she was my first love, and the other thing is, what were the chances, from my point of view, of meeting somebody else who was able to overlook my age while being at a similar level of sophistication to me?
Pretty low.
And yeah, and it was low, and I ended up...
Or not deathly afraid of being seen with you, because that's also something. Even if you could meet someone who did have your level of sophistication, they might have said, well, you're 14, so
well, exactly. They had to be willing to overlook the taboo and the things that would happen to them. So that actually was followed by a suicide attempt on my part, and I spent a lot of time recovering from that.
Now the critics would say that it was her fault that you attempted suicide because she never should have engaged with you in the first place.
See, to me, it wasn't that at all. It was a matter of looking at this happened. It was an extraordinary fluke. I did everything I possibly could to make it happen, and I can't even hold on to it. So, I didn't have any
out of your
particular control. Exactly. It was out of my control, and
thanks to the state.
Yeah.
Was that one of your first, I guess, realizations that the state, was not a friend, or were you already kind of leaning libertarian at that age?
I mean, I remember when I was, I don't actually remember doing this, but my mother tells me that when I was 5 years old, she swatted me on the butt with a yardstick, and I took it away from her and broke it. So I think I was emotionally inclined to be an anarchist from the beginning, but certainly it was another recognition that the state was not my friend. That
for sure. Because had the ex-husband not been able to use that leverage against her, maybe you wouldn't have had the relationship end, at least at that point.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And maybe I would have been able to learn enough that I would have known how to secure the next one on my own. So that that was definitely a something that put me off authority even further.
I appreciate you sharing that story with us. I know you've told me it again or in the past, but I don't know if it's been on the air. I don't know if we've broached that previously on the air. So
I think I've mentioned it very briefly, but I've never given the full narrative of it.
I think it's interesting. I think it's instructive. I'm sure there are people out there who are saying that you were abused, molested, that taken advantage of. You just don't realize it, Rich. This is what I've been told, because I was, I think, probably around 11 years old when I had some sexual encounters with a next-door neighbor, a male neighbor next door.
Mm-hmm.
And my earliest was probably when I was 6 with a different male neighbor who was of my age, but this one was older. So I was right around 11. He was probably, I think he was 16 at that time. And, we were fooling around. I was crawling in through his window. We were literally right next door, different nights, and doing sexual things with him. There was no actual, intercourse, if you will, but there was some oral that was going on. And I was voluntarily choosing to crawl in through his window. I certainly knew what was going on there. I knew what to expect as far as what was happening. Mm-hmm. And I believe that I was consenting to that activity.
Yeah. When you criminalize introductory sexual play, that can be horrible traumas.
Right, and thankfully nothing happened to the guy because no one knew about it until now. It's Free Talk Live.
So when we brought him home, we didn't realize that Bear, the rescue dog, was actually sick. He had very flaky skin. He was dropping a lot of fur, and the vet wanted to do steroid injections, special dog food. Nothing seemed to work. So I've been hearing Dinovite on the radio for years.
DINOVITE.com.
859-428-1000.
It never actually crossed my mind to try it until I was just at a dead end. And then it finally sunk in. Oh, you're talking about hair and skin. And all right, I'll try it. Well, it took probably 6 weeks, but after we started using Dinovite, no more flaky skin. He doesn't scratch and itch, and he started to put weight on. It was awesome. He makes us feel like we saved him. Every rescue dog in America deserves Dinovite for 90 days. I wish that we would have started the Dinovite right away. It would have been so much easier.
859-428-1000.
DINOVITE.com.
It's about time something new came along for better selling and buying online. And I found it.
What now, Marge?
It's buysellmakeoffer.com.
Never heard of it.
It's a brand new company. That's why you've never heard of it. It's the newest and best way to sell any products online. I did all the research.
Sell my car?
Yes.
Our home?
Yep.
My golf bag?
Your golf clubs. All of them.
How about your purse collection hoard?
Hey, now.
You said any product.
Right. I did. We get 30 days free.
Really?
Packages starting from only $7.95. And buysellmakeoffer.com will never charge item fees, ever. Never. And this is cool. Listen to this. You can even use Skype or video to show your items.
That's cool.
Yes. All we have to do is go to the website, sign up, and then load our stuff to sell. I love this site.
Buysellmakeoffer.com.
Buysellmakeoffer.com. You got it?
Buysellmakeoffer.com.
Buysellmakeoffer.com. Better selling, better buying.
I'm Ian Freeman, host of Free Talk Live. We've been covering Uber for years on the radio with their ongoing legal cases across the globe defending your right to give people rides without asking government permission. I wanted to support Uber more directly, so I signed up to be a driver. It's fun to meet new people and help Uber push forward innovation. As of this recording, Uber is active in 67 countries, so there's a good chance they're available in your area. If you'd like to drive for Uber and make some money helping people get where they want to go, sign up at drive.freetalklive.com, and you'll get a $100 bonus after you complete a certain number of trips. With Uber, you can drive anytime you want. You set your schedule. To get started, you need a good driving record, 4-door vehicle, insurance, registration, and to pass a background check. It costs nothing to sign up, so visit drive.freetalklive.com. That's drive.freetalklive.com. And if you just want to try Uber as a rider, visit ride.freetalklive.com. Your first ride's free. Free Talk Live has partnered with Amazon, the largest internet retailer. Imagine a department store category, and Amazon has it. closet, books, electronics, office products, furniture, jewelry, automotive, toys, clothing, sporting goods, and dozens of other categories. Now you can shop and support Free Talk Live by entering Amazon through our website. Go to shop.freetalklive.com and Amazon will send us a portion of your purchase. You're going to do the shopping anyway, so remember to enter through our site at shop.freetalklive.com. That's shop.freetalklive.com. So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com.
If you enjoy LRN.FM, please contribute to your favorite shows via their websites and become an amplifier at amp.lrn.fm. That's amp.lrn.fm.
Hey, it's Free Talk Live. And yes, we're talking about the taboo subject of underage sex.
Stone them, hang them.
Yeah, that's what is being called for right now on Facebook, on the Free Keene comments system over at freekeene.com after a state representative has been accused, merely accused, not convicted, of supposedly soliciting a 14-year-old female for sex on the internet. Turned out she was a undercover cop. Now, it was allegedly a real 14-year-old female in the very beginning, but mom found out, and the police got involved, and the police then took over the account and proceeded to have chats with Kyle Tasker, the state representative, and then ultimately arrested him when he ostensibly came to some sort of meetup for some kind of sexual encounter. And in the affidavit that they have, it's a 5-page affidavit, which you can see for yourself over at freekeene.com. Scroll down, it's a couple articles in. It's not real clear exactly what the conversations entailed. They give you some excerpts of what Kyle allegedly said in certain conversations, but what's not made clear is what the undercover cop said to elicit those things. We don't, maybe Kyle is this lecherous person who wanted to take advantage of a young female. We don't know because we haven't heard his side to the story. The case has not yet gone to trial. So the fact that people are already jumping to conclusions and throwing him under the bus and acting like he's some sort of bad guy is, I think, really unfortunate. And it's particularly disappointing when it comes to libertarians, because a libertarian at the very least should know. I mean, you would think that most libertarians would know that the police, they're not always the most honest of folks. That there are plenty of cases where the police have lied on the stand. I mean, the police will lie in the most basic of cases. Even if it's a speeding ticket trial, the police will tell lies in some cases. So it's not hard to believe that the police might be trying to gin this up to look a lot worse than it actually was. Or, even further, possibly a conspiracy to convict Kyle on something that he didn't actually have any involvement with. I think, obviously that seems less plausible, but it's possible. So, but we don't know anything right now. All we know is what the police are alleging. And you can share your thoughts here toll-free on the idea of consent and whether or not it should even be a crime in the first place to do something that's tacky, do something creepy. Let's say that it's true. Let's say that the allegations are true and that Kyle Tasker, the state representative, did solicit this underage female for sexual purposes. Okay. Where's the victim? I understand some people are saying she's a victim because, well, he wanted to have sex with her, that he intended to have sex with her, that he said these things to her, but I don't think saying things that make people feel uncomfortable should be a crime. And I don't know how you guys feel about that.
Well, also, there's not that much evidence that made her that uncomfortable. It didn't look like she was pursuing... didn't look like she was interested in pursuing a pound of flesh out of this. I don't know if that's right or wrong. I mean,
she certainly unfriended him on Facebook, according to the police affidavit.
Yeah, and the one thing
which is what you should do to someone who's making you uncomfortable on Facebook.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, like to me, the crime should be like if you tell the person, "Look, I'm not interested," and then they keep coming, and then even that I don't know should necessarily be a crime that you go to jail for, but. It's like...
At least then
we've had people do that amongst the Free Staters, and in some cases there have been ostracisms that have
That's
resulted
correct, yep.
from people perniciously pursuing people and not letting it go.
I mean, from a biology standpoint, I mean, I guess to pull the science card here, puberty is the time where basically your body is getting ready for sex. And so, like, it occurs at different rates.
For different people, sure.
Yeah, some people, like, as early as 10, maybe even younger.
Females usually go before males.
That's right, as well. So, like, 10 to 14 is, like, the general age for females, and maybe 12 to 16 for males. So, I mean, you could say, like, a 14-year-old. Another thing is, like, cultures change, too. So, like, one culture, it might be acceptable at one point in time. In history, it might have been acceptable for, like, let's say, younger people. I find it very strange. Like, our society is like, we have to make this, like, ideal world, protect the children from every little conceivable thing. Like one approach I always thought would be like, what if you told, like, kids, like, look, there are terrible things in the world. There are violent things. There are, like, drugs that can F you up. There are, like, people can do bad things to you sexually. Like, let's discuss this and let's get you informed so you can make educated decisions. Like, I think the wrong approach is to say, like, we're not going to tell you anything at all, and then the kids don't know what the heck they're doing, and then they make a lot of mistakes and screw it all up.
I totally agree. And this young lady seemed to have handled it fine. She unfriended him on Facebook, and that should have been as far as it went. But, of course, the argument from the other side is, oh, well, you just want to wait until he victimizes another person. Okay, so maybe she got it right here, but what about the next girl?
I mean, I would say, I think the approach should be like tell the kids, like, hey, there might be people that want to have sex with you.
Right, because the fact is, if you take Kyle Tasker and you put him in a prison cell, which is he's sitting in a jail cell right now awaiting trial, you put Kyle in a jail cell, it's not like all of a sudden every teenager is safe from some lecherous person out there, right? Because even though you've put Kyle and several other people in a jail cell, there's probably someone else out there who is also interested in your teenage son or daughter.
I mean, I was just thinking, like, if I could, like, do it again, like, if I was 14 again and, like, someone offered, like, $1,000 to have sex with me, I probably would do it. Like, I don't think I would have been taken advantage of,
That's the thing. These people, who are on the attack against me and Kyle and probably you guys now that you've spoken out on this issue, they just will not agree with the idea that anyone under the age of X, whatever, because I imagine the age is different for each person. They just arbitrarily pick some age that they can't possibly consent. But you talked about different cultures, but you don't even have to, like, go to some sort of jungle tribe or change cultures drastically. Mm-hmm. In Canada, just a few miles north of where we are, we're in Keene, New Hampshire right now, so 2 hours, 3 hours north of here. In Canada, a decade ago, the age of consent was 14. Now, they did end up raising that, I believe, in the mid-aughts, like 2007 or 2006. But the point I want to make here is that if you were 15 at the time when sex was legal in Canada for you, and then they raised the age to 16, were you able to consent on day one when it was legal for you, but then all of a sudden unable to consent after the legislature went ahead and made it 16?
Yeah, I guess the trend in society tends to be like, okay, like, we're going to keep children even longer. Like, okay, like, it used to be you could drink when you're, let's say, 16, and then it was 18, and now it's 21, and, like, you could smoke when you were younger. And it seems like across the board, every single thing is like, we got to raise the age. Driving is another one. Like, you used to be able to drive at 14 and then 16. I've heard some people say, like, you shouldn't be allowed to drive till you're 21.
Oh, my God.
Like, to me, it's insane.
Yeah, this came up on one of the conversations. Some guy said to me on Facebook, well, what do you think, a 13-year-old should be able to drive too? And I said, well, as long as they can reach the steering wheel and the pedals, I don't see why, if they feel like they're ready for that responsibility, I don't see why not.
Yeah, I guess I would take the Ronald Reagan answer. He basically said it used to be you were able to drive when your family decided to entrust the car to you.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, when they thought you were ready for it,
yeah.
Sure.
And it's different for everyone.
An individual decision, a family-based decision, rather than the government forcing it on someone.
Yeah, let's get into that.
The toll-free number here is 855-450-FREE. If you want to join us, you can. Share your experience. 855-450-3733. It's Free Talk Live.
So you've got to take a state construction license exam or certification. Can't decide on what books or what chapters to study? Discover right now how you can eliminate unnecessary books and wasted study time. At contractorexam.com, our study materials zero in on state-required test topics in an effective, multiple-choice format. So whether you're a plumber, electrician, general contractor, or other construction-related trade, contractorexam.com will help get you prepared. Visit us at www.contractorexam.com today.
Attention citizens. This man has received national attention for accurately predicting every major financial trend, including the market crash of 2008. His name is Harry Dent. And in his newly released book, he is making even bigger and bolder predictions that have the potential to devastate the world economy and your personal wealth. You can get a free copy of Harry Dent's bestseller, The Demographic Cliff, containing never-before-published information by simply visiting www.harrydentresearch.com. Again, that's www.harrydentresearch.com.
Free Press Publications is an independent, alternative media and publishing company founded in June 2009 with the mission of ensuring a free press for the freedom movement and is committed to spreading the message of peace, freedom, love, and liberty. FPP also gives new authors an avenue for publishing freedom-oriented material. FPP brings you daily news and commentary on the website fpp.cc, as well as a daily 5-minute newscast, FPP Radio News, and weekly news, views, and commentary in the FPP Freedom Minute and Peace, Love, Liberty Radio at fppradio.com, and the monthly newspaper FPP News at news.fpp.cc. Find FPP online at fpp.cc. That's fpp.cc, as in Creative Commons. SWCPoker.eu is Bitcoin Poker 2.0, where players can buy chips, play, and cash out anonymously with Bitcoin. No banking, just Bitcoin. Texas Hold'em, Omaha Hold'em, Draw, and many new games, including Chinese poker. SWC Poker gladly accepts players worldwide, and over 2 million hands of Bitcoin poker have been dealt at SWCPoker.eu. Bitcoin poker from the brand you trust. SWCPoker.eu.
The 3 most important things you can do for Free Talk Live are: 1, share 1 episode a week on Facebook or in some other social networking site. 2, buy the things you buy online through shop.freetalklive.com. 3, give $5 a month to the AMP program. It's my firm belief that Free Talk Live's AMP program is the best use of your charitable dollar among liberty-oriented organizations. Support all the organizations you love, but make sure you give $5 a month to AMP at amp.freetalklive.com.
On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
Your amp will directly change more lives by getting Free Talk Live in front of people looking for talk radio online and on the air. When you amp Free Talk Live, you get perks like access to the AMP-only Facebook group and AMP podcast. Visit amp.freetalklive.com.
You can watch the LRN Studio Cam and chat with other listeners anytime at cam.lrn.fm. That's cam.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live. You are invited to join us here toll-free at 855-450-FREE. And you can bring up anything that you want. We've been talking about an issue of much controversy. I was actually on the radio this morning in Manchester on WFEA to discuss this issue. It was a short segment. It was just one segment. In this case, we've been talking about it for an hour and a half on Free Talk Live because we can get into these issues. We can dig in deep and really kind of sort them out and provide some perspective that you're just not going to hear on the radio anywhere else. I mean, if this is being talked about on the radio in most places, this Kyle Tasker, state representative accused of soliciting a 14-year-old female for sex online, turned out to be a police officer, also accused of having a bunch of drugs in his house. He's facing 60 years in prison now as a result of that. In most places, you would have frothing at the mouth, you would have anger, you would have shouting, you would have demands of death, you would have demands of, rape in prison, and all manner of, very just nasty behavior on the part of people who will just take the cops' word for it. Nothing's been proven. Kyle Tasker has not been found guilty. And even if he is found guilty, I still maintain there was no actual victim to this crime. There was no party who was damaged in any kind of serious manner, in any kind of compensable manner. I don't know what the word is I'm looking for here. Nobody was hurt. Maybe their feelings might have been hurt, but it shouldn't be illegal to be offended. And
I would say, if perhaps if once again, if the girl was like, look, I'm not interested, and then he pursued it anyway, and
which he didn't.
Yeah, and then carried through. I mean, that'd be where I draw the line.
The only point that he pursued, allegedly, again, according to the police, is after the police took over the account. So when he was allegedly messaging her in the beginning and propositioned her for a threesome with a lady friend of his, she unfriended him on Facebook and deleted the messages. Now, it's not clear if she said anything to him, but that should have made it clear to him that, hey, she's not interested. And that was the end of that. Then the police took over the account and later messaged him in reinitiating contact with him. So it's not like the cops just sat there and waited to see if he would come back at her. No, they reinitiated. And the thing we don't know, because we haven't seen the full chat logs, is how much the police goaded him into doing this, or teased him or tantalized him into doing this. Now, of course, some would say that, well, he never should have fallen for that anyway, and certainly probably shouldn't be doing this kind of things on Facebook or whatever.
Yeah, this is systemic of a larger problem, I think, is when you set arbitrary ages and just arbitrary limits, everyone is different. That's just a reality, and it's you can't really have a one-size-fits-all solution. I mean, you could say, imagine,
they do, though.
Imagine that we had, the data, and we're like, okay, if we make the driving age 16, 95% of the kids will be ready at that point. But if we make it 21, 99.9%. Why don't we make it 30? At some point, you have to just say, look, let the parents decide would be my rule of thumb. When your kid's ready to drive, maybe you could... I don't know. Maybe that people would probably say that's really extreme, but I probably would agree. I probably would want an 8-year-old driving. There's some age that I would probably say,
Well, ultimately, that should be a decision made up by the road owners. I mean, in our perfect libertarian society, that the government wouldn't run the roads, and so then private road owners could decide these kind of things, and then maybe there'd be a patchwork of such decisions. I don't know, but certainly there are stories of parents who've allowed their kids to drive the car, down the neighborhood street or something like that.
Yeah, actually, I have a Yeah, when I was probably 5, my parents started letting me drive.
You sit on their lap, right? You'd hold the steering wheel, that kind of thing.
Initially, yes.
You can't hit the pedals at age 5.
When I could reach the pedals, it got to the point where, at the neighborhood, my dad would get out of the car and we would switch spots, and I'd drive. I'd go park the car, and it was
and you turned out gay. So, we really need to question whether... Sorry, dude. It was a cheap shot, but I had to go there.
It was good. It was a good one.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
But, yeah, I see where you're coming from. This idea of the one-size-fits-all government solution. Some government bureaucrat arbitrarily decides.
Or it's another thing is, my dad, he took me shooting when I was very young. And he's like, look, firearms are very, very dangerous. And, you're not to touch this. If I'm not around... you are never to point this at anyone else.
That's why you go shooting, is so you can see how dangerous it is.
Yeah, you're to always assume that these weapons are loaded. He taught me the very basic rules of firearms.
Yep.
And
I was probably 8 or 9 when I first went to the gun range.
Yeah, I mean, I don't remember how old I was. I was pretty young, but just 22s or whatever. And he taught me gun safety. He taught me how to drive a car. I don't know. I feel like he. Maybe it was the free-range parenting without that term for it.
And
yeah, I would say so.
Yeah, my parents, I don't know, they let me do things like, I don't know, like I went to this like summer camp and I got to operate like heavy equipment and I got to learn how to weld.
Huh,
so
wow.
like they let me do like what I wanted to do a lot of times. So.
You see, I was raised by a college professor who was much more cautious than that, and I always really regretted that. You know, I wanted to do the outside things, and the other interesting thing is I'm adopted. So I always wonder whether whether maybe my biological parents are more like me genetically. Maybe they're more risk takers than my adopted parents were. Maybe they're hunter-gatherers, and maybe my parents are, well, I know my father is Armenian, so he's descended from a long line of traders.
You actually get to meet him, or you just know that as far
well,
as
this
your
is
genetics?
my adopted father
your adopted
is Armenian,
father.
which is why I don't look it.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I
well, somebody said online that, well, this isn't arbitrary, and I said, well, of course it's arbitrary, and the reason you can tell it's arbitrary is because if you look at different governments of a Western nature, they have different ages set for the age of consent. It's completely arbitrary. Somebody plucked some age out of thin air. Let's go to Andy.
In
He's on the
South
line.
Carolina, it's set in the state constitution. At 13, you can get married with or without parental consent.
Wow. Let's go to Andy, listening in Texas on TuneIn. Hey, Andy, you're on Free Talk Live with Ian, Rich, and James.
Yeah, hey, this is disturbing. I mean, this is nothing more than preemptive crime. I mean, they're busting this guy. They're going to throw him in prison for the rest of his life, and he didn't really commit a crime. I mean, it's no different than having a police officer hanging out behind a billboard and then busting you when you go by. If he really wanted to keep you safe, he'd be sitting on the side of the road so you'd see him and you'd slow down and whatnot. But no, they're out there revenue generating, and we have these for-profit prisons now too, man. I mean, and their product is prisoners.
Yeah, that's true. They want to have those prisons filled to the brim. Do me a favor, back off your phone like, I don't know, 3 inches or something. You're pretty overdriven. It's kind of hard.
Is that better?
Yeah, a little bit. Anyway, go ahead with any other thoughts you want to share.
Well, no, the whole thing is, I mean, even a DUI, I mean, they stop you for a DUI. You haven't committed any crime as of yet. You didn't hurt nobody, you didn't damage anybody's property, and they stop you and they take your wallet and all this stuff.
Oh, yeah, this is another one where libertarians who are principled will advocate for ending DUI laws, and I got to agree with them because
See,
this is a tough issue.
There I've got, to me, I liken that to, say I'm out in a in Grafton. Grafton.
It's out in the middle of nowhere.
Grafton, you can do this in your backyard. But say I'm chilling out with some friends in Winchester, where things are a little less dense than Keene, but
small town.
But still, it's small town. And my friend decides to go out and get drunk and go in his backyard and start randomly firing off a firearm. Well, at some point, I'm going to stop him from doing that forcibly if I believe that he's putting his neighbors at risk.
Absolutely.
So
if somebody's driving dangerously,
driving drunk.
But the difference is, if someone's driving dangerously, then they should be taken off the road, regardless of whether they're drunk or driving while tired or whatever.
Tired is super dangerous.
But Andy, thanks for the call tonight. I appreciate hearing from you. But there's also an argument
that the problem with the behavior doesn't stem from having an arbitrary blood alcohol level or an arbitrary level of marijuana in your system.
Right, and here we are back at the arbitrary numbers being set by the state. And there's also some perverse incentives set by this. We'll continue. It's Free Talk Live.
Are you searching for your soulmate? Someone you can trust, who will never betray you? Or cooperate with the NSA? Stop searching. With EasyDNS, you found a keeper. EasyDNS does it all. Domain names, web hosting, and managed WordPress hosting. EasyDNS stands up for your internet freedom. And with servers in Canada, they do not cooperate with the NSA. Go to EasyDNS.com. You'll love their services or get a full refund. They guarantee it. And they accept Bitcoin. That's EasyDNS.com.
Free Talk Live has partnered with Amazon, the largest internet retailer. Imagine a department store category, and Amazon has it. Books, electronics, office products, furniture, jewelry, automotive, toys, clothing, sporting goods, and dozens of other categories. Now you can shop and support Free Talk Live by entering Amazon through our website. Go to shop.freetalklive.com, and Amazon will send us a portion of your purchase. You're going to do the shopping anyway, so remember to enter through our site at shop.freetalklive.com. That's shop.freetalklive.com.
I'm Nick Soboleski, a Select Quote agent with a true story that could save you hundreds of dollars a year. A woman named Linda just called. Her husband, Ray, has a $300,000 group life insurance policy, but is changing jobs and can't take it with him. Well, I impartially shopped the highly rated term life insurance companies we represent and found Ray, who is 41 and takes medication to control his cholesterol, a 10-year, $500,000 policy for under $26 a month. That's almost twice the coverage for less than half of what he had paid. If SelectQuote hasn't shopped for your life insurance, you're probably paying too much.
For your free quote, call 1-800-403-4885. That's 1-800-403-4885. 1-800-403-4885. Or go to SelectQuote.com. We shop, you save. Get full details in the example policy at SelectQuote.com/commercials. Your price could vary depending on your health, issuing company, and other factors. Not available in all states.
Every once in a while, you get information that's worth changing your life for. This is one such time. You can save up to and beyond 25% on all purchases at Amazon. You probably heard of Bitcoin and just not thought much about it. You certainly know that you can get competitive pricing at Amazon, but now you can get a 25% discount on nearly everything you need to live. I've just given you a huge raise, and all you have to do is claim it. You go to saveitpurse.com and open an account. Do this right now. Don't wait. Then you fund the account with Bitcoin. I know this sounds unbelievable, but at my house, we saved as much as 45% off of a new item on Amazon. This information is worth you changing the way you do things. Go to saveitpurse.com right now, get signed up, and cash in on the huge raise I'm offering you. 15 to 25% off of everything at Amazon through saveitpurse.com. It's saveatpurse.com.
You can listen to Free Talk Live on the radio, podcast, satellite, webcam, and our live streams. But did you know you can listen to Free Talk Live from any phone, anywhere? Add this number to your phone, 213-493-0308. It's a long-distance call, so make sure you're familiar with your phone's calling plan. The listen lines are airing the latest episode of Free Talk Live 24 hours a day, including our live shows. Call 213-493-0308. That's 213-493-0308.
Cryptocurrency and peer-to-peer tech developments happen fast. Stay in the loop with the Daily Decrypt, a new video channel and podcast that will keep you on top of the latest innovations in crypto finance, security, networking, transportation, and gadgetry like drones and 3D printers. Subscribe to the Daily Decrypt on YouTube and SoundCloud and be an early adopter of the future. The Daily Decrypt.
You're listening to the best liberty-oriented audio streamed around the clock, on the air and online. This is the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
It is Free Talk Live. You can join us here. In the remaining moments, we've got time for you right now, 855, 450 free. Well, we're just covering all the controversial topics, everything from underage sex to drinking and driving. One of the things I wanted to say about drinking and driving here is that there's an argument that if it were legal, and again, I'm not saying driving dangerously. I'm just saying to have drank and drive. If it were legal, you've got a situation now where it's illegal, but somebody's at the bar, they're going to drive home. We know this happens. We know it happens every night in every town and every city. Somebody's driving, probably more than one person, are driving home drunk from a bar. And if they know they can get pulled over for it randomly, then maybe they're going to be in more of a hurry to get home. Let's say they've definitely had too much, right? Not just 2 beers, but 6. Or 4 or something where they know they've gone too far.
They're going to be rushing.
So they're going to rush home because they want to lessen their chances of being pulled over. Whereas if it were legal to simply be drunk while driving,
they could, in theory, if they were aware of it. Now, again, not every drunk is aware of how drunk they are. That's certainly true. But if they were aware of it, they could go slowly in the right lane and, maybe arrive home safely in that case.
Yeah, let's throw the government under the bus. So, number one...
I love doing that. Let's
they cause a lot of problems.
Can we get a big have bus?
They have
a lot of government bus, or is it a Greyhound bus?
They have a lot of stupid laws like zoning. Like, I think it sucks that I can't take a little house or something and turn it into a bar, and then people could walk. That's one huge problem. Another huge problem is a lot of places, if you sleep in the car with the keys, they arrest you.
Right?
Yeah. Now, wouldn't it be nice if instead of that, you could have a little flag on your car, so you could just pull off to the side of the road and hit the "I'm drunk"
the drunk guy
button,
flag,
and basically any Uber driver driving by could, if he wanted to, decant you into his car and then take you home and pour you into bed.
Yeah, but I think James is right though about the zoning is a real issue. Lionel actually used to talk about this on his show a long time ago, that these used to exist. These neighborhood bars used to exist, and it was zoning that drove them out of business. Right. They drove them out of business. In fact, now, if you're too drunk walking home from the bar, they can arrest you.
That's another stupid rule.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, I operate a pub underground. It's informal, and I don't know if it's... I don't know how illegal it is, but I will say that if somebody gets drunk there, they are absolutely welcome to stay there until they're sufficiently sober to leave. And if I don't want to extend that privilege to somebody, I'm not going to serve them past the point I can throw them out.
Yeah, I don't think you'd want to call it a pub or anything like that. I mean, if you're having drinks with friends, it's usually considered legal. But actually, if you look into the law in New Hampshire. They can basically arrest you for giving away alcohol. So whether you charge someone or you give it away, unless you're like a state licensed alcohol distributor, it's all illegal. So buying a six-pack for your friends, I mean, it's generally tolerated, but the way I understand the law, the wording of the law is, if I buy a six-pack and allow you guys to take them, then that's illegal. If I allow you to give me money for them, that's illegal.
It's another
but yet,
thing.
I'll tell you, if you show up and knock on the door of my church and say, "Hey, let's have a beer and talk about the invisible hand," I'm going to go get you beer and we're going to go talk about the invisible hand.
It's another thing. It's so dependent on the individual. It always goes back to this. There was a case where I was leaving an establishment, and this guy that we all know, he was very drunk. And he was driving his car, and I was driving, and I kind of got behind him, and I was like, wow, he's a really good drunk driver. I was like,
I know who you're talking about.
I was like, good God, he is amazingly good. I would have never guessed that he is just plastered, and he was coming to complete stops, using his turn signal. He's going under the speed limit. I was like, wow, he's a really good driver, but.
That same guy actually a couple years ago, he told me he got pulled over by a couple of cops who said they'd been following him for 10 minutes, and on average, your average person in 10 minutes is going to break 5 or 6 traffic laws. And so anyway, they pulled this guy over and said, well, you've been driving perfectly for the last 10 minutes, so we thought we'd
suspicious.
Pull you over and just let you know and say good job. And the guy says, well, when you're as drunk as I am, you got to be careful.
Oh, that was a joke. So that's
true.
So something like that actually happened to me for real, where I was driving so well it was suspicious, and they pulled me over for that. I was, I don't know, maybe 18, somewhere between 18 and 21. Anyway, I wasn't 21 because it would have been illegal for me to have the alcohol in the truck that I did. So I think it was probably 18 or 19. We were out at my friend's workplace. It was after hours. He'd had a beer. I had not been drinking. And so he had a six-pack of beers. He put it in the back of my truck. I had a Toyota, old 70s Toyota pickup back in Florida at the time. And I was to drive him to his parents' house at that time. He was off work, so I was driving him home. And driving out east of the interstate on, Clark Road. You're going out to Mayaca State Park. There's a curve. And it's a pretty sharp curve, but not the sharpest of curves. It's, good 90-degree kind of curve. And there's one of those yellow signs. Now, I never knew this because, I managed to pass the driving
Those
test.
are the recommended
Speed limit. I never knew I thought it was yellow because it was like a dangerous curve or something, and you need to go this speed. It's like a temporary slowdown. That's what I thought that it meant. But it's apparently legally just a recommended speed. It doesn't say recommended on it. It's just a speed sign with a number on it. And so I slowed down because I got alcohol in the back of the damn truck. I've got an underage drunk guy and alcohol, and I'm underage, right? So I don't want to get pulled over. And there's a cop on the side of the road. So I go the speed limit, this recommended speed limit around this curve. Cop puts his lights on and pulls me over. And so I said, when the cop comes up to the car, and I thought, I don't know, I've even been pulled over at this point in my driving career. I think this was maybe the first time I'd been pulled over. Oh, yeah, and I had a box full of marijuana in the truck as well. And the cop tells me that he pulled me over. I said, well, why did you, may I ask why you pulled me over? And he says, well, it's unusual that people will go that they will go that speed limit around that sign, around that curve. So that was his supposed legitimate reason for pulling me over. By the way, to the cop's credit, he only had the kid dump out the beers. So
my uncle's a traffic cop, and he echoes that. He says, oh, people who do the speed limit or come to complete stop or use their turn signal, they're suspicious. Yeah. Like, I want to pull those people over because they're obviously hiding something. Yeah. But speed limits are another good example. Like,
when I'm running drugs, I always try to go about 5 miles per hour over the speed limit. And,
you mean when you used to run drugs?
Well, if I ever do it in the future, I'll probably do the same. I don't have any intention of it.
Right. Speed limits are another good thing. I mean, like, why is it the same speed limit whether I'm, in a truck with a trailer, whether it's raining, whether it's dark, whether it's icy? Like, it's just, I always thought, and people inherently know this. That's why everyone disobeys it. But it's like, it's so stupid to me. Like, we're just going to decide on this number, and we're going to make it so low that we can always pull people over because no one's going to obey it. Mm-hmm. So it's like another arbitrary thing. Like, like, I would agree. Like, there's probably some speed where people shouldn't be driving, like, way too fast. But, like, just let people kind of decide. Like, like,
they'll do it anyway.
Yeah, spontaneous order. People will kind of decide what they feel is safe and what they feel is unsafe.
Well, and if people are going faster than the speed limit and you're going the speed limit, you're the one who's unsafe.
Yeah, I've experienced that quite a bit.
Yeah.
But
so we're going to
I guess the self-driving cars come in would be a good way to take that subject out, which is
true.
Which are the cars that get in twice as many accidents specifically because they're programmed to never violate a traffic law.
It's interesting that you bring that up because
it's usually it's usually the human drivers who run into the self-driving cars.
Exactly. It's not that the self-driving car is doing the wrong thing.
They're doing it too right.
Technically, but they're not doing what you expect an experienced driver to do.
Yeah, I see.
Because an experienced driver breaks the law when it makes sense.
There was a case pretty recently in California where a police officer pulled over a self-driving Google car because it was going too slow. It was going under the speed limit. And the cop was like, oh, that's creating a road hazard. Like, obviously, he didn't issue a ticket.
Who do you ticket then? Do you ticket the corporation? If you're not actually driving the car, who's responsible for a traffic infraction?
Oh, it's not just traffic infraction. Who's responsible for the liability from accidents? And how does that change?
That's an excellent question.
What if you change the program so that it breaks the law in an attempt to violate the in an attempt to avoid the accident, but then specifically when the accident happened, therefore it's actually breaking the law? So do you say that's an intentional
These are questions they will have to iron out.
It's going to be a big deal in the courts as not just cars, but all kinds of robots.
Check out Rich Paul, his website, invisiblehand.church. That is one of your sites. And also richpaul.freekeen.com to donate to you.
That's right.
And James, I don't think you have a website.
Robin Hood, Free Keen.
There you go. Cool. We'll see you tomorrow night online in the meantime, freetalklive.com.
Money, power, and respect are all yours at creditsuccesssecretsrevealed.com. Be seen as an industry leader. You can do it. The last application you filled out when it was time to hit submit, did your nerves spike? You didn't get the approval you seek, but there's a better way. We teach you exactly what to place into the right systems the right way the first time so you get approved. Get up to $100,000 in instant business credit. Many people will get cash on the spot. Use those two tools in your new corporate credit engine so you can walk into the bank and get your project funded today. It's all about today at CreditSuccessSecretsRevealed.com. Credit Success Secrets Revealed is explosive and ignites instant results. Dial 1-800-707-8719. That's 1-800-707-8719. 1-800-707-8719. Or just go to CreditSuccessSecretsRevealed.com.
This is your Robertson Roberts Brokerage Daily Precious Metals Update. After a rise of over 2% yesterday, in early trading Friday, gold is up $7 at $1,278 per ounce. Silver is 34 cents higher at $15.60 per ounce. Bitcoin is trading at $420 US. Both gold and silver are making big moves this week and may have seen recent bottoms. For more information, give us a call at 800-874-9760 or visit us online at rrbi.co.
Did you know that you can listen to and watch Free Talk Live during our live show 7 days a week from 7 to 10 p.m. Eastern via our studio cam at cam.freetalklive.com? Not only that, but you can also chat with other listeners at the same time. Do I need to mention that both the studio cam and chat room are totally free? Outside of Free Talk Live's live hours, you won't see a cam feed, but will hear audio from the Liberty Radio Network. So listen, watch, and chat all free at cam.freetalklive.com. That's cam.freetalklive.com.
This is the Liberty Radio Network, broadcasting the latest liberty-oriented audio content 24 hours a day at LRN.FM.
From Keene, the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Daryl W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Friday, March 4th, 2016. Silver is trading at $15.23 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,262 per ounce. And according to BitcoinAverage.com, the average price of Bitcoin is $424. Antiwar.com reports after 5 years of civil war, Syria is experiencing a temporary return to normalcy, with a ceasefire now in its 5th day and still holding steady. There is a lot of negativity about the chances of making a peace deal, but everyone is enjoying the dramatic reduction in violence the ceasefire has provided. Everyone, except the rebels, that is. Having resisted international efforts to broker a settlement of the war, many rebel factions were dragged kicking and screaming by the international community into this truce, insisting all the while it would not work. The rebels, who were blasting the U.S. for betraying them by supporting a doomed ceasefire last week, are now blasting the U.S. for betraying them by supporting a ceasefire which is working and is heading towards some settlement short of installing them as the new government. Rebels now say they're convinced the U.S., Russia, and the Assad government are all plotting against them, and after previously making their participation in peace talks conditional on a ceasefire, they are hunting for a new excuse to keep the war going. For nearly 40 years, Roberts & Roberts Brokerage has been a trusted source for buying and selling precious metals like gold and silver. They also take Bitcoin for precious metal purchases and have permanently removed the minimum purchase amount for all orders paid in the digital currency. Call Roberts & Roberts today for knowledgeable advice on buying and selling precious metals and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 800-874-9760 or visit online at rrbi.co. UPI reports President Barack Obama on Thursday announced that his signature healthcare law has signed up 20 million Americans since its inception 6 years ago. Obama traveled to Milwaukee on Thursday to commemorate the city's improved health record. Milwaukee beat 19 other major U.S. cities in a nationwide initiative called the Healthy Communities Challenge by enrolling more than 38,000 people in health coverage under the president's program. The competition was intended to see which city could sign up the most people during the most recent ACA enrollment period. Obama said, "Today, I can announce that thanks to the law, 20 million more Americans now know the security of health insurance. 20 million people. That includes 6 million young people who were less likely to be insured before the ACA." Obama added, "In America, health care is not a privilege reserved for the few, but it should be a right." The White House stated on its website that more than 90% of Americans now have health coverage for the first time in American history. In 2115 New England, there are no borders, no states, and no regulations, yet never has a more peaceful and prosperous place existed. But Mr. Drake's security company has seen better days. Faced with the prospect of waning power, Mr. Drake intends to replace the anarchy of New England with a government. But at what cost? And can anyone stop him? Anarchy in New England by Joe Jarvis is available from Amazon.com and all major bookstores. Reuters reports former U.S. presidential candidate Mitt Romney attacked 2016 Republican frontrunner Donald Trump as a fraud on Thursday and urged primary voters to keep the outspoken New York billionaire from getting the nomination, paving the way for possible horse trading at a party convention in July. In an unusually harsh speech, party elder Mitt Romney warned that former reality TV star Donald Trump would likely lose to possible Democratic candidate Hillary Clinton in the November 8th election if he becomes the Republican nominee. Romney, who did not endorse any candidate, said, "Here's what I know. Donald Trump is a phony, a fraud. I would vote for Marco Rubio in Florida, for John Kasich in Ohio, and for Ted Cruz, or whichever one of the other two contenders has the best chance of beating Trump in a given state." By calling for targeted voting, Romney was setting up the possibility of a contested convention when Republicans gather in Cleveland in mid-July to select their nominee for the November election. That could create a